1 2 1 2. 1 2 1 2. Mic check. Hey, can y'all hear me out there? Against all odds. 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 Against all odds.
The podcast.
Shout out to Rockhound Detroit Lions, man. My pride.
All right. Good morning, everybody. We are just 1 day away. 1 day. What am I talking about? We're just 1 day away. Can you believe that we've made it this far? And welcome to the Rise of Grind Morning Show, everybody. Hope you guys are having a good Wednesday morning. Tomorrow is the final training camp day for your Detroit Lions. Just one more day left, and it is open to the fans. Eric and I are planning on being there. But one session left before the start of the regular season here in just a couple of weeks. And after dealing with quite a bit of injuries during training camp, the Lions are now starting to get back to full strength right at the right time with multiple positions of need at the right time as well. We're going to talk about that this morning. Some surprise cuts that could be happening with this roster. We went over it last night for about 2 hours, man, back and forth, kind of seesawing what is this 53-man roster going to look like, and how do the recent moves by the Detroit Lions really shake it up for a few players that might be on the bubble. So we'll get into all that and more here. Let's get Eric in here this morning. And good morning, Eric. How are you this morning?
Really good. I'm pumped up for tomorrow. I'm not pumped up for all the driving I got to do today, but I'm pumped up for tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be fun. I'm going to get there early. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to get a seat right up in the front.
There you go. Make sure you just 4 or 5 rows back. That's the best way. That's the best spot to sit so that sun don't get you, man.
Yeah.
4 or 5 rows right in the middle. It's a good spot to be. I kind of like being on the 40-yard line on the right side. However, what I've noticed in every camp that I've been to, the defensive line, they never come out and do positional drills out in front of the fans. They're always tucked way left behind the end zone, by them over kind of by the hill. Well, on the other field, but on the closer field, but that far away. So you really can't see what they're doing. And I would say that's by purpose. That's by design, that the Lions don't want you to see what those guys are doing over there. But speaking of the defensive line, now yesterday, bombshell, man, Mekhi Wingo. What?
Yeah.
Mekhi Wingo is brought back from, early, I would say. Now he had the meniscus injury to his knee. They started day 16 and activated Mekhi Wingo from the PUP list. He's finally recovered, and he had a few things to say about it. I have a few things I want to say about it this morning too, but man, they started day 16 off with letting a caged animal out of the cage. One of the dogs is now back on this team, and so my first question, I guess, to everybody, in the comments later, and obviously in the chat right now, is who is Mekhi Wingo instantly better than on the bottom end of this roster? And I guess there's so many different things the Lions can do. I'm a little miffed, I guess, at the idea of bringing him back right now and not forcing the 4-game, the 4-game loss to start the season. I understand that part of it. But is he in better shape? Is he, a better football player than the guys that have been practicing in practice right now that, Miles Adams, potentially I've heard Pat O'Connor's name flirting to be at the bottom end of that positional group. I don't believe that. But Miles Adams, Nate Lynn, Keith Cooper, guys that have been playing pretty well. Is Mekhi Wingo a better football player than those guys right now? That's a tough question to answer for some of those guys. Others maybe not. But here's your quick update on Mekhi Wingo. He's been activated off the PUP list. He's recovered from the knee injury. He had 2 different surgeries. He had the initial, and then he had a cleanup surgery. He underwent the second procedure, kind of really just to, like I said, just to kind of clean it up. There really wasn't anything, going on there that was major, but it did extend the recovery time. So Mekhi Wingo could have been ready for camp the way we understand it. That second surgery delayed him. Here's a quote by Mekhi, though. He did say, "I've just been working my butt off, man. I'm glad to be back." So he has that fire already inside him that he just wants to get out there and get after it. Yesterday, we didn't get an opportunity to really go over this, but he was going to do individual drills. And while he was doing individual drills, he was then quoted after practice saying the knee is good. Just took a few double team reps over there, felt pretty good. Now it's just me trusting it and getting back out there. That trust is like the biggest thing, right? Having that trust is the biggest thing that these guys can get back after a major injury. He's also working to regain what is his football shape, right? He's in training mode. He's, working out. He's got that part of it down, but now it's time to get your body in football shape, which is drastically different than just lifting some weights. He's got to go out there and get that, what I call a soft body. He's kind of a soft shell lobster right now. He's got to go out there and harden that shell, take a few hits, end up on the ground a few times, knock the dust off, and get going. So who's getting cut, Eric? I mean, clearly the Lions see 177 snaps out of Mekhi Wingo from last year in his rookie campaign, more important than some of the 90-man that we already have right now. Who is it? Or 91-man it was.
Yeah, I don't know, man. And the thing is, maybe they keep Tyreek Williams, Mekhi Wingo, Pat O'Connor, and Keith Cooper to start the season, but you're going to end up losing one of these guys when Lee McNeil comes back.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing I don't get is how much is Mekhi Wingo really going to play? So even if he's ready for week 1, I'm going to say doubtful, but that's 2 weeks away, right? What if he is ready for week 1? How many snaps is he really going to get? 10? 8? Wouldn't you rather have just let him hit practice for a couple of weeks, which I guess he couldn't practice. I guess that's the main thing. You could activate him. He can practice, but he couldn't, he really couldn't do anything else over the last several months while recovering. So who's your immediate knee-jerk reaction? Do you have the roster pulled up by chance?
Yeah, if I had to choose one to go, it's either going to be Pat O'Connor or Keith Cooper Jr.
Okay, so definitely not Pat. Keith, I mean, he's a UDFA that's kind of caught lightning in a bottle this year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I could see where, okay, but is Keith Cooper really even on the roster, right? Let's think about it that way. Is he really even on the roster? So here, let's do a minor breakdown. I did this for 2 hours last night, and I tell you, I thought that I was prepared. I thought I was really prepared last night to make this this second or really third roster kind of concrete with the practice squad and the vet squad and the protected squad. And I'll tell you, I got 90% of the way into it, and I'm like, man, I have too many questions. Like, I just don't have enough answers. And I don't really know how they're going to play this roster roulette, right now. The roster gymnastics, I should say. So here's your defensive tackles. You got DJ Reader, he's a lock. Roy Lopez, he's a lock. Tyreek Williams, he's a lock. Ahmed Hassanin is not on a list right now. He's still on the roster. He doesn't have an injury designation that's going to carry him, through an active PUP or IR to return yet. I think he's going to be IR to return is what I'm thinking is going to happen with Ahmed. They get two. They get two that don't count against the roster, and Ahmed could be one of them. And then
do they have to wait till day one of the after cuts to do that?
So they can designate IR to return before 53 with two guys. So essentially, I guess the way I get it is you have a 55-man roster, right? So you have 53 plus two guys that you can designate to IR to return that don't count against your roster, or the 8 that you can have during the season. I'm hoping I got that right. I think it's a new rule this year, so it's kind of hard to keep in line with it all. And then you have your 8 that you can put on active PUP after after cuts. So once cuts happen, you have to wait 24 hours, bring those guys back, put them on the list. You could put them on the practice squad and protect some of them too. So they could put Ahmed Hassanin on the practice squad and protect him, but again, that can't happen until 24 hours after cuts. So he has to go on some sort of a list, or you're going to carry him on the active roster. It's kind of the same situation they had last year, right? They had Broderick Martin and Josh Paschal. They got injured and they had to do something, and none of it made sense to us at the moment. Still doesn't make sense to me right now. But when I'm looking at this, we're looking at the Our Lads depth chart. You know what? Let me just show everybody what we're looking at, because this one, like I said last night, looking at the Lions depth chart, it was not accurate again. This is the Our Lads depth chart, and this one's fairly accurate, I think. But if you look here in the the middle upper left here, you've got Davenport, Anzalone, McNeil, Reeder, Hutchinson. Your DTs, Reeder, Lopez, Chris Smith. I think all those guys are locks. I would have had Miles Adams ahead of Broderick Martin because I think that Miles Adams has played better, but maybe the Lions like Broderick Martin a little bit better. I don't know. Lee McNeil, well, he's not on a list, or he's not on the roster per se because he's on a list. So it's Tyleik Williams, and now you have Mekhi Wingo and Pat O'Connor, and then Keith Cooper, according to Our Lads, not according to my list. So if it's Tyleik Williams and Mekhi Wingo, and then it's Pat O'Connor, I guess that's your answer. On this list, it would be O'Connor or Chris Smith that would be getting cut. I don't know if you caught any of it last night, but the Lions have typically carried 4 or 5 defensive tackles, which seems light to me. It really does. Matter of fact, let me just pull this back up. Last year at cutdown day, the Lions had Ali McNeil, DJ Reeder, Levi Onwuzurike, Mekhi Wingo. Broderick Martin was IR to return. Defensive ends, we had 5. Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, Josh Paschal, James Houston, John Kaminsky. Let's see, Paschal, Davenport, and Hutchinson are back this year. The year before that, for those of you that weren't in last night, you didn't see this, Ali McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, Levi Onwuzurike, Benito Jones, Broderick Martin. They carried 5. They carried 7 edge. So 12 defensive linemen in 2023 and 9 defensive linemen in 2024 with 1 designated to return. So that's a huge difference. 9 to 12 guys, that's 3 dudes. That's a huge difference when you're looking at the roster. So the surprise roster cuts, they're happening. They're absolutely happening. And I think that they're going to happen in the receiver room too. I don't know, man. It's going to be an interesting week.
Yeah,
it really is.
In the chat, JC says, I saw Broderick is currently the number 4 DT in preseasons with a PFF grade of 90.8. Where did you see those numbers? Because I have not heard of Broderick Martin putting up those numbers, but I have seen he is doing better.
He's doing better, but let's remind ourselves. Light snap count, right? Yep. So if I go out and play lights out and have a great game, and I'm only in on 10 snaps, and then the next game I have a great game and I only had 3 snaps, numbers are pretty skewed.
Yeah.
Let me try to pull it up here. PFF is being dumb this morning. It's not loading. Let me pull it up.
I know he played a bit more in the Dolphins game because I was watching him.
You were watching him from the stands, though.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's tough. It's tough. That's tough to do, man.
I was trying to pay attention to him being in.
Yeah, it is so tough to do. Trying to key in on just one guy. That's why I love sitting in. We're at the 40-yard line. I love sitting at the 40 because you have a really good view of pretty much everything. All right, I'm getting it up slowly here.
I'm one of the weird ones. Everybody else likes the view like you're watching it on TV. I like the end zone angle better.
I like the end zone angle too.
Yeah, I like being in the end zone.
Well, I like both end zone angles. I like the one where you're looking at Jared Goff and then the one where you're looking behind Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay, so I do have it open. Now Broderick Martin was against the Dolphins. My goodness.
Oh, I have an echo still, I guess, apparently.
I haven't heard any echoes. Who said it?
Everybody in the chat.
I didn't hear it. Let me kick this off. Let me kick the desktop audio off. Maybe that'll help. So anyway, looking at Broderick Martin, he scored out as a 58.5. He had a 92 in pass rush. And so it depends on what you're looking at. If you're looking at pass rush, then he had one pressure and one hurry in the game against the Dolphins. He had 21 snaps. But his overall score, I mean, he was near the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was a 58.5. And then in week one for Broderick Martin, yeah, it was not much better. He had one tackle, where'd it go? One tackle, one hurry. And yeah, so one pressure, one hurry, one tackle. And that was 12 snaps. 53.4. So I think they must be looking at pass rush. And not the overall score.
Like I left you yesterday at the end of the show, I said, is Brad Holmes finally going to be able to let his ego go and admit that he got something wrong on a third-round pick? You know, with Hendon Hooker and Broderick Martin, they're both third-round picks. If these two guys don't work out, is he finally going to admit he was wrong one time? It's okay. Every GM is. Every GM gets one wrong now and then.
Well, I would say every GM gets a lot wrong, honestly. Yeah. I mean, take a look around the league. There's some GMs every year that'll miss, you know, on a draft pick that year that doesn't make the roster. Brad's has made the roster, and a large part of that is because they were rebuilding the roster. So 21 and 22, just about everybody was going to make the roster anyway. But since 23, it's gotten a little cramped in the locker room. And now that we're into our fifth draft, to your point, it's really hard to make the roster now. Especially as a draftee. It's going to be really hard. Especially as a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. If it were me, I would probably be getting rid of some of those picks just to move up. And, oh, wait, he did. Right? I kind of said that before the draft. Get rid of the picks. Get rid of the late round picks and try to move up and get a really high quality player that maybe now you can get rid of someone that's on the bubble, you know, that'll be returning that year. But to your point, yeah, every GM has their issues. Brad just has a lot less than most of the other GMs. The ego thing is what trips me out. Is it really an ego thing? Do you really think it's an ego thing? Or do you think it's, you know, he's doing the best he can with what he had? We needed a body. He got a body. I think that Broderick Martin is now a product of a roster that is so good. You would probably keep a DB or a receiver over Broderick Martin. It's not that he can't play the game of football. It's, look, he was a 3rd round draft. He was essentially a 4th round draft pick where he was taken. Mm-hmm. Those guys hardly ever play anyway. Right? A lot of them don't make the roster. So I know what the narrative is out there. I mean, I know what some people are saying. They're wrong. They're 100% wrong. If this were any other team and he didn't get injured, maybe Broderick would be a little bit ahead of where he needs to be. But now we brought in Tyleik Williams. There's just no room with you when you have a guy like Ali McNeil and DJ Reader. The question I have is, are they going to try to keep him around for next year if DJ Reader's gone? And I would say the answer is yes. And that's why I think they're still hanging on to him somehow, some way. He's going to be on this roster, whether it's practice squad or otherwise, because of next season. You still need a body, for DJ Reader, unless they double down and draft somebody again.
But don't you think Tyleik Williams is that guy?
For DJ Reader?
Mm-hmm.
No, not necessarily. No. I mean, as a starter, yes. But what about our backups?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You have Roy Lopez on a 1-year deal. You have Broderick Martin on the last year of his deal will be next year, right?
Yep.
So I guess, when you look at our roster this year, there's a lot of movement that's going to happen between now and then. I'm just excited, man. We're a week away. It feels like it's closing in way too fast. Way too fast for us to think that we're going to have football every weekend now. It's exciting.
I'm ready. Let's go. I'm ready to.
It's exciting
right now.
You guys can't tell, it's a little bit of a slow day around here. It's a slow day. All right, what's your first thing? I never pulled up your sheet, so.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why it didn't pull up for me. Oh wait, here we go. Injury reinforcements arrive. Key Lions returns. What is that?
Let's see. Gotta get it.
Obviously, Cleo Dorsey was the other player. They came back.
Yeah. So the Detroit Lions received a double dose of good news as 2 key players returned to the field on Tuesday. Second-year defensive lineman Mekhi Wingo was officially activated from the PUP list. And then all-pro tight end Sam Laporta also returned to practice and participated in the team's scrimmage after missing a couple of days. Wingo, who needed a follow-up cleanup procedure on his knee this offseason, stated he is working his butt off and absolutely expects to be ready for the season opener against Green Bay. And there was also a positive sign for defensive back Morris Norris, who was seen working on the side with trainers as he recovers from concussion.
Morris Norris is like that's an insanely good story right now.
Mm-hmm.
It went from, so doom and gloom to the next day he's back in Detroit and has an opportunity to rejoin this team at some point throughout the season. It's pretty exciting stuff.
I had a few Lions fans that were actually at the game that filmed with their phone, and they're like, have you seen what was really going on? And they showed me the video. Oh man, it was horrible. Yeah,
the immediate seizure that he went into was scary stuff. We couldn't see it live. Obviously, I got some images sent for me from Megan and others, but that immediate seizure, that's tough, man. That's tough.
Yep.
Thankfully, he's not injured, for a longer period of time. Seems like he's going to be okay. All right, so we got a big boost, man. Sam Laporta is back. This is big news. I think that it's been trending this way for a long time. I never really found out what the whole injury issue was. Sam Laporta was reported as a lower body injury at one point. I never heard if it was anything different. Don't know what it is. Do you have a clue?
No.
He's missed the entire training camp. I don't know that he's even been out there a few days. So I guess next time we'll have to dig in and find. Yeah, see, all the injury that when Dan Campbell said he was injured, it said he will miss a little bit of time. Like, that's Dan's new thing. It's a little bit of time, you know. He'll be out for a little bit. He'll be out for a little while. That's his new thing. He's getting smarter with how he's speaking to the media now. It was not, here's the quote. Laporta will be down. It's not major, but he will miss a little bit of time here. That was before the second joint practice with the Miami Dolphins last Thursday. And we never heard anything more.
Yeah. And miraculous, he's back yesterday.
Okay, so let me segue into something. Here's the reaction from people. And I want to get your reaction out there as Lions fans this morning in the comments below. In the chat right now, but definitely after the show, do us a huge favor. Jump into the comment section and send us in a comment. You know, send us in something to look at after the show. We try to respond to all of them. And even if it's a hashtag Go Lions or hashtag One Pride, it works, right? Just get into the comment section. I know it's difficult. It takes 2 seconds. Slide the live chat over, go to the comments, and drop it in. You can do it when the show is over today. Here's what one person wrote about Sam Laporta. I don't like this. Okay. I don't like it either. Here's another one. This one seems a little far-fetched to me. He seems injury prone. So you tell me right now, obviously and later. Now and later is a good candy, by the way. He seems injury prone. Do you believe that Sam Laporta is injury prone? Has he been any more injured than Amon-Ra St. Brown? I don't think so. So is Amon-Ra St. Brown injury prone? What do you think, Eric?
No, listen, they're NFL football players. They're going to get injured. There is a 100% chance of injury in the NFL. No player goes more than a single game without having some type of injury. It's going to happen. Maybe Jack Fox, maybe Jake Bates. Those are the only two guys on the field that, barring having to make a tackle or a block, won't get some type of injury throughout the season.
Yeah, and even then, it's usually the worst kind. If they get an injury, it's usually a soft tissue injury from non-contact, and those are the worst kind. So, all right, Sam Laporta being injury prone? No, he's not. And look, how many times have the Lions had a really good tight end that gets treated like a wide receiver? They're going to get a ton of action. He's doing a ton of blocking, right? If he's not doing his job, then he wouldn't be making contact with other football players on the field. And he is. So he's one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. He's going to get nicked up. Matter of fact, from day one of practice this year, they already had bumps and bruises from day one, and it doesn't stop, right? You're at 100% when you walk into the building before training camp, where most of them are. And then if you had a meter that was attached, floating around the top of their head, following them around, I wish I could do graphics like that, following them around throughout the season, that meter would go 99, 98, game 1, 93. Game 2, 90. Game 3, 87. You're probably losing 3% every week. And then you have a bye week. And then you jump up another 6 or 7 points. And you're at 96. And then game 4, game 5, whatever, bang, you're down another 3%. By the time you're halfway through the season, these guys are all playing at about a 90, 85% level because they've got all these nicks, cuts, bruises, soreness, contusions, bruises. I mean, giant bruises on their legs. And they're never going to be 100%. But that's why these guys are NFL football players, because they fight through it. I would say, instead of saying Sam is injury prone, I would say, man, how many injuries is he fighting through that we don't know about? Because that's the real story. We don't know about it. And who highlighted that for us last season in a special Netflix story? You remember?
St. Brown.
Amon-Ra St. Brown. He highlighted that for us during that story where, I mean, he had hand, foot, mouth disease. I mean, my God. I would have kicked him out of the locker room if I was his teammate. Like, dude, you go shower in the, in the porta potty out front. Like, get away from me. But yeah, that's a good, I think that's a good show to watch again to see what these guys go through. I mean, he was fighting through stuff all season that we didn't hear about, and it never landed on an injury list. How about this? The team is cursed. If it weren't for the injuries last year, they would have won the Super Bowl. Okay? I think that what I said last year was, if it weren't for the injuries last year, they still would have had a chance to take down the Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But I think even after that, they wouldn't have beat the Eagles. I think that we were too decimated. We didn't have enough. And I'm not dogging my team. It's just a reality. When you can't stack up against another team, player for player, they've got all their starters in, and you're missing 13 of yours. Not likely you're going to win, right? Not likely. Is the team cursed? Eric, do you think that we still have a curse?
No. Cursed was 32 years of not a single playoff win. That was, and we're on year 1 of that right now.
Well, how about this one? I like this one. The injuries are the training staff's fault.
Yeah.
I love that one. I love it. I would say this. In the beginning of practice, you get some guys that maybe they're not drinking enough fluids, and they're getting some cramps. And so in the very early days of practice, we're getting all these reports that this person left practice early, and then magically they're fine the next day. Well, what wasn't reported is that those are probably cramps, right? Some of the guys were rolled up on, stepped on, things that happen. But what did I say about that? And I'll come back to the training camp or the trainers thing. What I said about that is this is the very beginning of football for these guys. They're trying to learn this dance routine. And everyone's a little bit out of step right now, literally getting stepped on. And so that happened with a few guys. Have we heard about it since? No. Kind of funny how that works, isn't it? So they get their dance routine down. They're choreographed, right? Now these guys aren't getting these little stupid injuries because guys know where to be and how to play, and their feet feel firm, where they are. Back to the trainers thing. The trainers cannot protect these guys from injury. Their job, the coaches and the trainers' job, is to make sure that they're stretching and they're drinking fluids and they're eating the right foods and they're getting, training or the rehab done after practice. They're taking care of their bodies. And if some of these players are not doing that, they're going to be more susceptible to injuries. I don't know the full story on Marcus Davenport, so I don't know, did he consistently get the right treatment? Some guys maybe after practice, they just pack their shit up and they go home. I'm out of here for the day. I'm gone. And you expect that they're going to do it at home. The majority of guys that are winners on this team, the guys that are starters on this team, that are leaders on this team, they're going right to the cold tubs. They're going right to the massage table. They're getting all of the extra work done for a couple hours every day. Yeah, it's painstakingly boring, to have to go through that. But to make it through a season, you almost need as much recovery time as you do practice time. That is something that I learned very, very early. And it's something that I don't think a lot of coaches teach, but I had some good coaches when I was young. And the one thing that always stuck with me is if you practice for 2 hours, you need to recover for 2 hours. Even during a game when I was done pitching, they would bring a freaking bike onto the field. The coach would bring a bike. Will, you got to go hit the bike for the rest of the game. Depending on where I came out, right? If I started and I pitched, 7 innings. Well, then I've only got a couple of innings, riding the bike, but it's a minimum of 30 minutes to get all that lactic acid out of your muscles. But that's how they treated us back then. So some very smart coaches that I was around. And that's the same thing that you're going to see at the NFL level, that they want to take care of their guys. And it's different for every team, but they want to take care of these guys. But they have to be the ones that do it. You can't force them to do it. They have to want to do it. And that's why guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown that are battling injuries like he showed us through the Netflix special was able to continue on through the season. So, all right. There was another one. And I think this one sums it up. Don't overreact. Just be ready for week 1. I think it's a good way to look at it. Don't overreact. Let's just be ready for week 1.
Yeah, because there's nothing we can do. If somebody gets hurt, they get hurt in the preseason. Just like Ennis Rakestraw, his was very unfortunate. It's not because he was injury prone. It was because he came down wrong on his shoulder and broke his shoulder. There's nothing you can do for that. There's nothing you can do to have a trainer massage you or stretch you before something like that happens.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just a very unfortunate accident, and accidents happen in this game.
You can't do anything about bones, right? We know that. You really can't do much about ligaments. If an ACL, an MCL, a PCL, an Achilles, if something is going to go, it was already going to go. It's just the right conditions happened. The right step, the right push off, the right cut. It finally happened. It finally snapped. It happens. These guys are putting a ton of work in. However, if that same player is not doing the rehab, so if you have an ACL that is, let's say it's got some slight tears in it, which, all of these guys' ligaments have some slight tears in them. If you're hitting the cold tub and you're getting that therapy every day and you're bringing that swelling down and you're able to get all of that good extra red blood in there and you're delivering all the goodies to help it repair, I'm not going to do a medical lesson today because I'm not a doctor, but you want a lot of red blood into your muscles, right? And to help rebuild all those fibers. A lot of oxygen. So using the oxygen machine, going into the hyperbaric chamber, like that's huge now, going into the hyperbaric chamber. I would love to be able to do that. There's a couple of companies that do it. I'm going to reach back out to them again, but it's so expensive. But hyperbaric chamber, man, my dad had to do it when he had a major injury to his hand. He had to go in it to help recover. And it's night and day difference what that stuff can do for you. So getting that type of a high quality rehab, if you were doing that, maybe that ligament or tendon lasts you the whole season. And then you get in the off season and you're fully, able to recover. But if you're not doing that rehab, then crap like this happens. So I'll frame it this way too. I'm going to put just as much responsibility on the players as I am the coaches, and a lot less that I am on the trainers. I think that the trainers are doing their job. They have to have a plan in place. You're going to do X amount of massage, X amount of cold tub, X amount of stim treatment, the TENS units, all that stuff, which I just got one. I just got a new one. And that's their plan. The player has to show up, and then the coach has to reinforce it. These are adults, man. They're not little kids. They have to do it. So I'm not going to blame the trainers, but I will say that rehab goes a long way, especially in a season. These players don't want to do it, man. I wouldn't want to do it either. It's not fun. You got to make it fun. And I think the new locker room, which we're going to see next week, that makes it more fun, right? The training room, if they upgrade these things, it makes it more fun. Give them some things that want, make them stick around more. Give them a reason to stay in Allen Park after practice. I think we have a really good group of leaders, though. Don't you, Eric?
Yeah. And speaking of all these injuries, I think it has more to do with the playing surface than it does with the trainers. Seriously, I think having a proper playing surface to play on is a million times more important than what these trainers are doing.
Sheba's done a good job by that. I mean, immediately that was one of the concerns, right? A lot of players had voiced their concerns early after Dan Campbell took the team over, and they started doing their lists, right, of how's our food, how's our, facilities, how do we treat you? And one of the things that came up was the field. And immediately Sheila went out and spent, I don't know how much. It was a ton of money.
Millions.
Brought in a brand new field, right? So now we have the best available of the best available for a field surface. And that could go both ways, right? So if you have the best available and it's brand new, just like a new pair of shoes, it needs what? It needs to be broken in a little bit, right? I think a little bit used surface is probably better than a brand new surface. I would love to see grass. I mean, these organizations have so much, money, but I don't know if they'd really want to spend that kind of money on putting an indoor grass surface in. It would require a lot of lighting. They would need a ton of lighting to hit that thing to keep that playing surface alive. And you'd have to have it mobile enough that it could slide out, which could be done, right? You could put it, on a giant rectangular type surface that could slide in and slide out, and it could sit outside when you're not needing it. It is possible. I think it's way too much work.
Yeah.
To be able to play on grass. But there's nothing better than grass, man. And the Lions playing surface at Allen Park, I don't know what kind of grass that is. That does not, it's not a normal blue, Kentucky bluegrass. It doesn't look like that. It almost looks like a Florida grass almost, but I don't know how they're growing it up here unless they're growing it here every year, brand new or what, but it does not look like your normal Michigan grass to me. I'd like to know what it is. It's beautiful, man. The Allen Park does a great job. They do a great job.
Yep. I have to wonder, a friend of mine, when I went on my trip there back in June, he turned me on to this stuff that you put in your bottle of water, and it's called Liquid IV.
Oh, I hate that stuff. Oh,
I don't know. I don't know if the players are allowed to drink that or not because it's a supplement. But I'm going to tell you what, I have started drinking one of these every day, just pound it down, and it makes me feel like $1,000,000.
Yeah.
I swear by him now. And
how much sodium is in it? That's my problem.
I'm not sure.
I'm just worried about the sodium. I take all the supplements like the magnesiums, the calciums, the potassiums. Got to be careful with potassium. But I tried those too, man. They're better than a Gatorade. Let's put it that way. Taste wise, probably not, but for you wise, probably.
But I'm telling you what, man, that stuff works. You want to stop cramping up? Right there you go.
I'll show you what I use. I'll have to run upstairs at the hard break and go grab this new stuff that a doctor turned me on to. You're going to be like, what? Why the hell would you take that? Because I just mentioned the word that I don't want in my drink, but it is the same thing.
Yep, sodium.
Yeah, I'll show you in a minute. All right, so let's walk through this scrimmage. Actually, hold on here. What time we got? 8:45. I didn't do much for a scheduled report today. Been working hard on trying to get all of our stuff done for the season, so it's going to be a little light. Trying to get all these graphics done. I got a new graphic done yesterday. I think it's finally complete. I shared it with some people last night. I'll share it with you guys again this morning. I just need your upvote, downvote on if you like it. I didn't put much on my sheet. We already did the injury update. We talked about Mekhi Wingo. Let me give you the full injury update. So, injured reserve season ending. Cornerback DiCaprio Boodle. Lower leg. Offensive lineman Keaton Sutherland with a knee injury. Safety and draft pick Dan Jackson He's got a leg injury. Cornerback, second round pick from 2024, Ennis Rakestraw. He's got a shoulder injury. Tight end, Kenny Yaboa, knee injury. Offensive lineman, Colby Sorsdahl, lower body. Justin Heron, I believe he's also offensive lineman. Those guys are done for the year. Season's over. All right, cash it in. Non-football injury, NFI. The only one that is left right now is Josh Paschal. And reports are that he could be back next week, Monday, from what I've heard. We'll see. Like, does it make sense to bring him back right now? It's the same question that we started with this morning and last night. Does it make sense to bring these guys back? If you're on an NFI list, how does it work for your roster to keep those guys stashed and then also not affect your 53-man roster? I'll touch on that a little bit later. NFC North report. I'm sorry, not NFC North report. Active pup. Malcolm Rodriguez, knee. Ali McNeil, knee. Offensive lineman Miles Frazier, knee. Levi Onwuzurike is on reserve pup, but his season should be over. I don't know why it said that he's on reserve pup. He should be on injured reserve season ending. He's not coming back. If he's on reserve pup, then that would say that he could come back, which wouldn't make sense to me. So that's your overall update. Sam Laporte is back. Mekhi Wingo is back. Morris Norris is spotted at camp. And who's the other one? Oh, Khalil Dorsey.
Yeah.
So the minute I say the other day after the game, I see, Khalil Dorsey doesn't have to come back right now. Okay, Dave Phipps like, you know what, Will, screw you. We're going to bring Khalil Dorsey back on Monday. Well, I'm glad he's back, but we'll see how he performs. I like Khalil Dorsey as our special teams ace.
It's kind of nice that this whole injury front has kind of calmed down a little bit. The only starter that we're really worried about right now is Kirby Joseph, and sounds like he's going to be back probably next week sometime. He'll be back for week 1.
Yeah, so he's battling knee soreness, which tells me when Dan Campbell said they want to get it calmed down, tells me that there's inflammation in there. And it kind of gives me a little bit of concern. Does he have, like the Christian McCaffrey deal, where he's got like some sort of tendinopathy or something going in the knee or arthritis in the knee? If it's arthritis, that's a problem because arthritis doesn't go away, especially if it's any sort of like osteoarthritis, right? If he's got big inflammation in the knee, it's something that's going to follow him throughout his career. This is not what we needed this year. I don't remember him suffering a knee injury last year.
No.
Do you?
Mm-mm.
I don't remember it either.
No, Kirby was pretty healthy last year.
All right. Why don't you start walking us through what happened in the scrimmage?
Sure.
And then right after that, I want to kind of go through surprise cuts and kind of get your take on who you think surprise cuts are going to be this year. So I'll give you a little bit of time to kind of think about it while we're going through this. And then everybody in the chat too, surprise cuts. We're going to do it right around 9:15-ish. I will open up full lines probably towards the end of the show today. And I want to get your surprise cuts. So save it. Write the number down. Store it in your phone. 313-312-0348. Phone lines are not open right now. But every time I put the phone number out, someone calls right away. But just pin it into your phone. Save it. Save it as the Rockdown Detroit Lions phone number. And that way you can call in from wherever you are and not have to worry about me putting up the phone number. All right, Eris, walk us through the scrimmage. And while you start, I'll be right back.
Yeah, so yesterday the Lions held a scrimmage at practice. I couldn't be there, but Jeremy Reisman was. So I'm going to go through his article, and we're going to talk about it a little bit. There was 2 rookies that stood out yesterday. And the first one was UDFA safety Ian Kennelly from Grand Valley State. He continued to climb the depth chart, getting reps with the first team defense. He made several impactful plays, including 2 run stops and a pass breakup. And then UDFA defensive lineman Keith Cooper, who we've been talking about all preseason, also received reps with the starters and made his presence felt with a run stop on David Montgomery and a tackle for loss on Sion Vaky. The first team offense performance. The starting offense, led by Jared Goff, had an inconsistent day. They started slow with multiple 3-and-outs, struggling when pinned at their own 1-yard line, but eventually found a rhythm to score touchdowns in the red zone drills. And this goes through this article, and it goes through every single series. So on the first drive, it was ones versus ones, and pressure from Aiden Hutchinson forced a quick dump off to David Montgomery. And on third down, tight coverage from Amik Robertson shut down any chance at a completion to Jamison Williams. And then the second drive was the 2s versus 2s, and this is with Kyle Allen at quarterback. And the result, a 3-and-out. Run stops by Kennelly and a combination of Roy Lopez and Miles Adams forced a 3rd and long, while Allen got the ball out nicely ahead of a blitz on third down. Tom Kennedy's out route was good 3 yards short of the first down. On the third drive, number 3, it was ones versus ones at your own 1-yard line. The result, it was a 3-and-out. This was the start of a 3 consecutive series in which the Lions offense was pinned at their own goal line with pumped in crowd noise limiting communications. It's a tough spot for the offense, and they mostly struggled. DJ Reed nearly had an interception after jumping a ball on Amon-Ra St. Brown, who it sounds like had kind of an off day yesterday. He actually collided with fellow defensive back Amik Robertson, which forced the ball loose. A third down crosser to Williams came up short, and Rock Ya-Sin would have likely blown him up had it been a live tackling series. On the fourth drive, it was 2s versus 2s, and Hendon Hooker finally gets in. And the result was an offensive win, and this is at their own 1-yard line. Sion Vaky kicked off the drive with runs of 7 and 40 yards. So Sion Vaky had a 7-yard run and a 40-yard run.
Wow.
On the big run, he nicely found an opening on the outside and beat most of the defenders to the sideline. It could have gone for longer, but coaches ruled him down around midfield. The drive ended after Hooker navigated pressure nicely, stepping up and finding Isaac Tesla, who made a contested catch with Tyson Russell in coverage for about 15 yards. On the fifth drive of the day, it was ones versus ones again, and this was with the offense to midfield. On 3rd and 1, Jared Goff kept the drive alive with a nice feathering of a pass over the middle, finding Williams behind Terrion Arnold and Rock Ya-Sin for a 20-yard gain. But the drive died around midfield after Goff failed to connect with Amon-Ra St. Brown on back-to-back throws. The first was just an overthrow from Goff. The second, Goff laid a great ball into the turkey hole, with Hutchinson bearing down on him, but St. Brown couldn't complete the diving catch. And then drive number 6, ones versus ones from their own 40-yard line. They got a touchdown this time. So like he said, they started off slow, built up some momentum, got going. Doesn't that sound like typical Lions offense to you this time of year? Takes a little while to get going.
It does, and that's why I get heartburn every year that we don't throw these guys in to a preseason game. I mean, the Packers are doing it, the Bears are doing it, the Vikings are doing it, and just about every other team's doing it, but the Lions aren't doing it.
Nope.
It reminds me of that song, doing it well. Oh, I won't even go down that road. Never mind. It's a bad song. It's a grimy song.
I honestly don't think Dan is ever going to play any starters except for maybe a rookie or two here and there. That's it.
Well, you got the rookies involved. I mean, obviously you want to see what Tesla can do and Tate can do and the rest of the guys. I mean, we expect the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th rounders to get in there. As a matter of fact, I think it was a perfect call to get those guys in there a little bit more. They got Tyleek and Tate in, for one game, and that was enough for them. the same thing should be, I think, put in place for the overall starters, like just one series. If you get a 3 and out, you have to go one more series, right? The defensive starters, you get one series. If you get a 3 and out, you get off the field. If you don't get a 3 and out, you have to stay on the field, until you get a 3 and out. That's how I would do it. Maybe I'm a jerk. I don't know. And I'm not worried about injury. I think if you're going to get injured, you're going to get injured, right? It is what it is. I know I'm a little bit of a hypocrite when I say, like, let's get these guys out of the game in these meaningless times when, we're in the season. Let's get these guys out if we can, get some of the other guys in. It's a loaded statement because there's not enough guys on a 48-man roster to go in and sub everybody out, right? You could put your backup quarterback in. You may be able to put 1 or 2 offensive linemen in, 1 or 2 defensive linemen in, maybe 1 corner, 1 safety. I mean, there's a few, right? There's a few guys that you could rotate in, but you still need depth. You still need the rotation. So, I don't know. I guess from both perspectives, in-game during the season and then preseason, I would just love to see them do one frickin' possession. One good possession. You don't have to necessarily score a TD, but just show us that you can do it. Keep on going, and then I got to write something down that I don't forget.
That's what they're going to do tomorrow, and that's what they did last Thursday. Is these joint practices, and that's where you can have the red jersey on Jared Goff, and you don't have to worry about him getting hit. You can still get the exact same work that you would have gotten in a preseason game, yet no one can tackle him, and it just limits the amount of hits that he's going to take. That's just like with the Packers with Jordan Love. They're having joint practices with the Seahawks this week, and Jordan Love is back in practice. He had surgery on his left hand, and the way they're going to use him is he's not going to play in the preseason game. They are going to use him in 7-on-7 drills during the joint practices, so he can still get some of this.
Who was that?
Work. That was Jordan Love versus the Seahawks this week.
Yeah. But I get it. I mean, just like some of the people in the chat too that are saying, the joint practices are enough, and are they? I mean, it's joint practice, and if you have never been, let me ask the guys in the chat that are saying that joint practice. Have you been to a practice? If you haven't been to a practice and you're saying that it's enough, then I would kind of question on whether or not if you understand what they're actually doing in joint practice. Here's how it goes. Both teams converge onto one half of the field. And let's say the Lions are going first on offense. Dan Campbell blows the whistles and goes, all right, 30 and going out, right? You guys all seen it. And so they get on the 30-yard line and they're going the opposite direction, and it's super quick. It's a quick huddle. They get to the line. They do their play. It's not really game simulated, right? You don't have a big play clock in front of you. Well, they have some play clocks, but you have some refs. You have the sticks. You have the down and distances. You have all that stuff. It's somewhat simulated like a scrimmage is, but you don't have 65,000 screaming fans, right? You don't have this big, giant stadium. And see, that's the part to me that I think is all part of it and important. You don't have the sideline, right, that is inside a stadium. So it's different from that perspective. Remember what they used to teach you? All of you have probably been told this, right? Practice like you play. Because if you don't practice like you play, you're going to play how you practice. If you don't practice full speed, you're not going to play full speed. And so when you're doing these joint scrimmages, you're getting good work 1 versus 1, yes. What I'm looking for is, can these guys do it on the field that they're supposed to be doing it in, because it's not grass, right? And can they, in a game situation, do the things that they're really, you can't simulate on a field. They weren't pumping in crowd noise during practice. So all of that stuff matters to me. Like, Have they? I haven't even heard them pumping in crowd noise this year. We're going to have some pretty tough away games. Should be pumping in some crowd noise and seeing if we can, get the plays called. Right? A lot of this stuff is scripted, and so it's not called in the moment. And that's what I'm more concerned about with John Morton, because he's up in the damn box. He's not on the field. You haven't seen any of this really come to life in a game situation. That's what I'm concerned about. Now, I know these guys are pros. They've been doing it a long time. But for me, I would just want that extra blanket of security that you've done it in a game situation with John Morton up in the box with the number ones, that you realize how this is going to work now, with Jared Goff and the rest of the guys. I'm sure they're going to be fine, right? But they are going to stumble out of the gate. And I think that they always stumble every year just a little bit because they're not getting enough practice in a game-like situation. The scrimmages are highly valuable, very valuable. Again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a head coach in the NFL, but that's how I would do it. I would at least just get one or two, just to kind of get, maybe it's not the play on the field that you're looking for. Maybe it's the technical stuff that you're trying to navigate, right? Getting the play into Jared Goff getting the play to the guys in the huddle. And what does that look like now? Because here's something I'm going to throw at you guys. What is Jared Goff used to doing during a game? I know it's a wide open question, but in between plays, what has Jared Goff been used to doing the last 4 seasons? Think about it for a moment. Ben Johnson's on the sidelines. Plays over. What's he doing?
Goes and talks to Ben.
Sometimes, depending if there's a timeout, he's doing this. He's looking to the sideline. That's what he's doing. You're not going to do this now. Hey, John, what are we doing? You know what I mean? So he's looking at the sideline. It's different. So the mechanics are different. Maybe it's just my, minor percentage of OCD in my brain that says that we have to practice all of these things to get used to it. Jared Goff has not had a play caller up in the box his entire career in the NFL. Not once. Sean McVay was on the sideline. Ben Johnson was on the sideline. Dan Campbell was on the sideline. So those are the little things that I'm looking for. Defensively, look, I think that when you have Calvin Shepard as a new defensive coordinator, again, he needs to be in a game situation with his number ones. At least for a few series, right? At least for a few series to kind of make sure that everyone's doing their thing. We have new coordinators. That's another reason why I'd want to see him in a game situation. It's the mechanics. It's the play too, but it's the mechanics of it for me. So, all right, I'll quit beating that horse.
Jeez.
Attila the Hun's got a good question. I don't know the answer, but the percentage of OCs in the booth versus the sidelines. I can tell you what the percentage is for Jared Goff. It's 0. I don't know. I'll try to find a weird stat. You were talking about the scrimmage.
Yep.
You said some more to go, right?
A little bit, yeah. So there was a few more plays through this thing, but it boils down to this. The second team offense, the backups had several impressive moments. Running back Sion Vaky broke off a 40-yard run, and QB Hendon Hooker led a quick touchdown drive against the first team defense. So yes, we had some positive news about Hendon Hooker yesterday. I see a lot of people in the chat saying, why are we playing Hendon Hooker in practice? Why are we playing Hendon Hooker in a preseason game? Well, you need to. For one, you want to finish with this guy. You need to find out what you have with him. And I don't know necessarily if Brad and Dan are ready to give up on the guy. Maybe they're giving him some tough love right now. Maybe they do want him to be the backup over Allen. We don't know these things. That's stuff that they're privy to that we're not.
I think Allen's number 2 right now. I'm pretty confident with that.
Yes, I do feel that Allen is number 2, but I don't think that they're ready to throw away a 3rd round pick just quite yet.
I don't think so either. I think if you look at the history, of our roster, it's kind of tells you that, right?
Yeah.
All right, so here's an answer. I don't know if it's 100% correct, but Jeff, my AI assistant, says 60 to 70% of offensive coordinators prefer the booth. 30 to 40% operate from the sideline. I don't know if that's correct. Now I'm going to pay attention throughout the season to see how many guys are up in the booth and how many are on the sideline. But Jeff, that's his answer for the day. Don't know if it's right. I think there's a lot more guys in the booth in college. I feel like there is.
Yeah. All right, and to cap off this little scrimmage that the Lions had yesterday, the 2-minute drill drama. The practice ended with situational drills where the second team offense, led by Kyle Allen, successfully drove down the field for a game-tying touchdown, converting a crucial 4th down along the way. In contrast, the first team offense failed their 2-minute drill, going 4 and out. So it's nice to see that Dan Campbell is putting them in stressful situations, like having to go for it on 4th down and 2-minute drills. And that way, when we do get to the real deal in the real games, just like all the other seasons, it's going to be second nature. We don't even have to worry about it when the Lions go for it on 4th down.
All right, we got really close to our likes this morning. Next week, before 9 a.m., if the likes are 75 likes, depending on how many people we have in. I mean, we typically have, once the season's in, it's anywhere from 100 to 500 people in these live streams. We try to get 75% or 75 likes for every 100, 125 people that are in before 8:30 in the morning. I might stretch that to 9 a.m., but after 9 a.m., if it's not locked in, we're going to have to keep ads rolling. I have 3 choices with ads. Well, 4, which is kick you in the teeth, way too many. Balanced, they come when you least expect it. Conservative, meaning not very often, less interruptions, or not at all. And so right now, you've kind of been in this balanced mode. I'll kick them off for the rest of the day because I love you guys. I think you guys are the best part of waking up, man. You're better than Folgers in my cup. It's the audience, man. It's Lions fans. You guys are awesome. So good scrimmage overall, yeah?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Hendon Hooker. Hendon Hooker, man. Let's go surprise cuts for a minute. You probably didn't get any real opportunity to really think about it. But there's an article here by Mr. Colton Pouncey on August 18th. I found this one this morning. Lions 53-man roster projections. And, I'll just drop it into the chat. I like to do this so that you guys can look at it. I'll drop it into the chat. If you don't have an account, then you probably won't be able to open it. Training camp is winding down, he says. We're about a week away from cut day. It's go time for several players trying to make the talented Detroit Lions roster. As we hit the home stretch, how are things shaping up? Which players are impressing? Which players have work to do? My question is, which players are going to be a surprise? Is Hendon Hooker a surprise cut right now if he's cut on Tuesday at 4 p.m.?
To me, yes, because we still have him signed through next year. Mike P tried to say in the chat that this is his last year of his contract, but I was just looking on Spotrac.
Next year.
He's signed through 2026.
Yeah.
So we still have one more year of Hendon Hooker on cheap rookie deal. So
super cheap.
Yeah. So I'm thinking he's going to end up sticking around. That's just my gut feeling. I don't think Hooker's going anywhere.
Okay, so last night I let everybody know this during the 53 prediction show. Quarterbacks, last year we kept 2, Jared Goff, Hendon Hooker. But on the practice squad, we stashed another, right? Jake Fromm. Whatever happened to Jake Fromm? Like, we let him go early, right? We didn't bring him back this year, or we let him go after we brought him back. I can't remember now. Which is it? Did we bring him back and then let him go?
I don't know. I'm going to look him up right now.
I think something tells me we did. Like, he was on the initial 90 and then we let him go. Like, Jake Fromm was pretty good last year. And Dan even mentioned it the other day. Like, a guy like him that just, knows the entire playbook. As soon as he shows up, he just involves himself in 100%. This is what I'm going to do with my time. And you could see that. And I don't know if that was a slight or light dig at Hendon Hooker to say, maybe you're not spending enough time reading. Maybe you're not spending enough time on your tablet. Newsflash, the Lions know how much time you're spending on your tablet. They know where you've been in your playbook. Absolutely, they know how much progress you've made on everything. So, was it a light dig at Hendon Hooker to say a guy like Jake Fromm came in and knew the entire offense week one because he took the time to learn it? Maybe. You remember when we were talking about the tests that quarterbacks used to take? You have like the Wonderlic test, and you could kind of tell how smart these guys were. And I believe it was Hendon Hooker that completely bombed this test before he entered the draft. And I want to look that up this morning if I get a chance. But I think he completely bombed something, which said that he wasn't, not coming from me, that he wasn't very smart in that area, book smart, right? Could be play smart, right? You could be smart as a quarterback. What you do on the field is different than what you do in a book. But you have to be able to execute on the field. And if you're not executing on the field, and if you're not executing behind the scenes, there's a problem there, right? There's a problem there. But the Lions over the last three seasons, they have kept an extra quarterback on the practice squad, and they've kept two every year at cut day, whether it was Jared Goff and David Blau in 2022, whether it was David Blau in 2023 on the practice squad, and then Jared Goff and Teddy Bridgewater on the 53-man, and Hendon Hooker was NFI'd because that was his first year coming in off an injury. And then in 2024, it was Jake Fromm on the practice squad, Jared Goff and Hendon Hooker on the 53-man. So it's always been two. So is he a surprise cut? The answer to me would be no. I don't think he would be a surprise cut simply because the Lions keep two. But they're also going to want to keep him on a practice squad. Hendon's not going anywhere long term. He might disappear for 24 hours, but he'll be back. Unless he has some sort of an injury designation before next week, which is likely. So I'm going to put that out there for storylines or headlines to follow. Look for an injury over the next week to Hendon Hooker for them to be able to stash him without, allowing another team to take him. I think Kyle Allen right now is your number two. I think it'd be a huge slap in the face to Kyle Allen with the way that he's performed to not make the initial 53-man roster. The only caveat to that would be who's more likely to get picked up, Allen or Hooker? I don't know. Throw a dart, right? Play 52 pickup, because I don't know if either one of them would be.
Yeah. I do have a little bit of news.
All right.
Former Georgia Bulldog and Detroit Lion quarterback Jake Fromm is now a client advisor for an insurance brokerage in Atlanta.
So he just hung up his cleats?
Yeah, that's it. He's
You mean he's not working for State Farm?
Nope.
He must have took all of our subtle jokes to heart, as Jake from State Farm, and now he's working as an insurance advisor.
Yeah. Jake Fromm. I can't believe that State Farm didn't offer him a big deal.
You would have thought, right? That's hilarious. So yes, he is available. But if he's already hung it up, he's hung it up. Maybe that's why he's not on this roster. Okay, let's move into the second group here. Surprise cuts. We're going to be talking about running backs. Last year we kept 4. Gibbs, Monty, Reynolds, Vaky. Vaky's the dude right now. He is the dude. Like, Vaky is so impressive. And you know what I'm going to do? One of the next videos, I want to go back and watch my own video on Vaky. I want to see how bad it was. Because this was way before anybody was talking about the guy. I did a video on Vaky, and I said a few things in there. And I thought it was pretty incredible that Brad Holmes said some of the same things after the fact. Let me see if I can find it. So running backs, while I'm looking for it, is Craig Reynolds a surprise cut?
Well, I don't think he would be a surprise cut, but he may be a surprise trade. Because you can't tell me someone would not want to trade for Craig Reynolds. He is the ultimate teammate. He is the ultimate worker. And when he gets his chance, he does something with it every time. The guy can score. The guy can run. I mean, if not for a holding penalty by TK85 in that last preseason game, he's got a 40-yard run right there.
Yeah, absolutely. He had a really good game. You know, I saw a headline about Craig Reynolds the other day where they said something like he was not efficient. And you just brought up a great point. The same thing that I thought that was running through my head when I read this was, did they not watch the game? Did they just look at the stats?
Yeah.
Because if you watch the game, you're going to see a guy that broke out 2 big runs, both get called back. Those penalties had nothing to do with that run. There was not a hold. Was it Manu that got the hold?
The second one.
The second one.
The first one was TK85. And I'm going to tell you, both of them, especially the Manu one, he did nothing wrong.
No.
Absolutely nothing.
That was so ticky-tacky.
The guy fell down. That's it. And it was more of him trying to hold his jersey to hold him up, not anything else. But they saw that little bit of jersey tug, and that's all. It
was a hand placement thing, and I thought that the hands were in a good spot too. And I think that Craig Reynolds absolutely had 2 electric runs in that game. So he wasn't inefficient. It was unlucky that those penalties got called. It's a totally different stat line if those runs counted, but they didn't. But then you put Vaky in, and he's consistently been averaging 6 yards a run while he's been in Detroit. It seems like it's 6 yards a run. It's, 6-8 yards a pass every single time. He is super consistent. And that's why I have Vaky as my number 3. And it's tough, but it's not tough. And you heard Phipp yesterday tell us why. Vaky's a gunner, right? He's been filling in for Dorsey, but he's also made himself known. He popped the fumble in Saturday's game. So he's making plays. He's quick enough to be a gunner. He's excelling in the run game, the pass game. He can also play on defense. If he needed to play safety, he could. I mean, he's the ultimate Swiss Army knife. And he's a pretty darn good teammate too. So I have Vaky ahead of Craig Reynolds simply because of that. I know it's not the most welcome take in the world. But the question is, does he get cut? And is it surprise? And you don't think it is?
Yeah, I don't think he would get cut. If anything, it would be a trade. And I don't know if it would be what would we trade for? What is this big need we have?
Well, I think they would be targeting a backup quarterback. Now, I brought that up last night, where I said, would he be a cut or would he be a trade? And I think that he probably has the most trade value of anybody that is on the bottom end of our depth chart.
Like going after a Trey Lance?
Correct. But it would have to be a team that needs a backup running back. Or needs a core special teamer. Right? That's what it would be. I think that Craig deserves a bigger opportunity somewhere. I'm not saying that I want him off this team because I don't. But at the same time, I don't know how they're going to keep, 3 quarterbacks and 4 running backs, or 5 or 6 wide receivers and 10 to 12 defensive linemen, it's got to go. It's going to break somewhere. It has to. All right, Colton Pouncey doesn't believe that Craig Reynolds is going to get cut. He thinks that the Lions are going to keep 4, and he actually has Craig Reynolds ahead of Sion Vaky, and I don't believe that right now. I think that Sion Vaky has way too much upside. His ceiling is much higher than what we're going to see out of Craig Reynolds. I do like Craig in the special teams game. I do like him as a backup. Anytime he's had to come in and fill time for Jahmyr Gibbs or David Montgomery, he's done well. But that was also behind an offensive line that was, star-studded. Now it's a little bit different. I think we're still going to be okay. But is he? You guys tell us in the comments below. Is Craig Reynolds a surprise cut? How about in the receiver room? Let me just give you the locks. Locks would be Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Isaac Tisla, Tim Patrick, Khalif Raymond. Those are my locks. Khalif Raymond, I would be a little bit... Is Khalif a surprise cut? Think about it. Pro Bowl returner.
I think just like Craig Reynolds, he would be more of a trade candidate than he would be a cut candidate. You want to talk about a surprise cut? I think someone like Dominic Lovett would be more of a surprise cut to me.
That's okay. So let me preface this. Surprise cuts would be people that would be players that are on this roster that have had significant impact on this roster, been on the roster before. Rookies, not so much.
Okay.
Right. I think a first round, second round, third round rookie would be a surprise cut. But a rookie on this team that was taken in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round is not very surprising to me because of how good this roster is. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Tim Patrick would be more of a cut candidate than Khalif Raymond. Because you have Tesla, he's a 1-for-1.
True, but we haven't seen Tesla up against the number ones yet either. We have seen Tim Patrick make some really good plays.
Tesla was 1-on-1 with DJ Reed yesterday and smoked him.
Yeah, no, he did a great job against DJ Reed in a non-playing environment, a non-game environment.
Yeah, it was a one-on-one.
It was one-on-one, so there was no safety help. If there was a single high safety, that play is probably broken up potentially. So here's Khalif Raymond's stats over the last several years. He had 215 yards last year on 17 receptions. He had 489 in 2023 on 35 receptions. He had 616. My former area code. 47 receptions in 2022. He had 48 in 2021. So with the Lions, he's had the most production out of his entire career prior to 2021. He had a total less than 500 yards of receiving over 5 seasons. Isn't that incredible when you think about it? Here's a guy that played 5 seasons in the NFL. He missed 2016 to injury. He missed 2017 to injury. He went from the Broncos, the Giants, the Jets, the Titans in 2019, stuck with the Titans in 2020, and then the Lions pick him up in 2021. But those first 5 seasons, he missed 2 seasons, and he had a total of 19 catches for 350, call it 380. 380 yards, 1 touchdown. He was primarily used on special teams and as a returner. And Brad Holmes finds this dude and says, man, he's going to be special. And since then, his first season with the Lions, he had a better first year with the Lions than he did his entire career up until that point. In his second season, he had the best career season ever in 2022 from a receptions percentage, right? How many receptions, how many yards? From a punt return, kick return standpoint, obviously 2023 and 2024 were his best years. So he is somebody that can convert. He can play at a high level. But if he's a 400 or 500 yard a year guy, maybe in this offense, you're probably looking closer to 300 yards or less. Is it somebody that you could walk away from? If it wasn't for his punt and kick return ability, I would say yes. But because he's an all-pro punt and kick returner, I think he finds a way onto this team. So those are my 5 locks. Jackson Meeks is my 6th wide receiver. So kind of what you were talking about with Dominic Lovett, I don't see Dominic Lovett as a surprise cut. I think he's a practice squad guy right now because he just hasn't capitalized on his opportunities over the last couple of games. Jackson Meeks has. I think the Lions must keep 6 wide receivers, and I cannot imagine a day where we would cut Khalif Raymond or Tim Patrick to keep Jackson Meeks if they were to keep 5. The Lions kept 4 receivers last year, and they kept 5 receivers the season before with Jamison Williams on a suspension list. Now, they kept 4 last year with, you got this, Khalif Raymond, Isaiah Williams, Jamison Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Isn't that's just the weirdest 4 receivers. Isaiah Williams made this roster, and he's now disappeared. I don't even know what happened to him.
He got scooped up. I think he went to the AFC team. I want to say Steelers, but it's not the Steelers. But he as soon as we put him down in the practice squad, he was gone. Somebody took him.
All right. Yeah, we had a rough year last year, to Brent Lighton's comment in the chat. We had a rough year. Our receivers, I thought last year was the year we were going to grab a receiver, but I also thought this year we'd grab a receiver too. I wish I just knew more about Tesla. I knew more about Jackson Meeks than I did about Isaac Tesla. So who's a surprise cut candidate in the receiver room? I mean, you could name anybody, but I think Dominic Lovett makes a practice squad. I think that Jackson Meeks is going to sneak onto this roster. He's definitely on the practice squad, but I think he sneaks onto this roster.
This is my personal look at the 2 players one for one, not what they've done on the field. Look at their body type. If you look at Jackson Meeks, just put him in any uniform, doesn't matter if it's Lions or whose it is, and just look at his body type. He looks like Deebo Samuel to me.
Oh yeah. You know, I saw a picture of him the other day. He's got some pipes on him, man.
Yeah, he's just thick for a wide receiver, and he's bigger than you think. He's not this little tiny dude. And to me, every time I see him out there, I'm like, wow, that's a Deebo Samuel type. And then when we went to that practice, it was Meeks, if I remember correctly, that made that amazing one-handed grab right in front of the stands.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's got hands. He can make some amazing catches. He seems to get open for all the quarterbacks. So I'm starting to come around to the fact that I think Meeks is going to make this team. I think Dominic Lovett might be the surprise cut for me before him. And I do think that he reverts back to the practice squad. I don't think there's too many people in that desperate of a need for a wide receiver that they're going to come take our 7th round pick.
Well, there is one player that Brad Holmes had spoken about with Kay Adams, and that was Isaac Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can get this darn thing to work. I don't know why it's not wanting to work for me.
You said Isaac Tesla.
All right.
Well, that's what I thought you were going
And he fits this. I met
My
him
bad.
at the rookie premiere. When I tell you that I
knew it
interviewed
wasn't gonna
40
work.
of the 40 rookies,
Yeah.
he
Let me fix that real quick. But I do want to review what they said real quick since we're talking about the receiver room. I thought it was a great conversation between these two. And how Isaac Tesla kind of stole the show is what she's saying. Where did it go? Why can't I adjust my volume behind the scenes? Well, that's interesting. I used to be able to go in and adjust my volume right away to turn it on. So you're just going to have to bear with me for a moment.
I'm looking at Isaac Tesla.
Well, that's what I thought you were going
And he fits this. I met him at the
I
rookie
didn't
premiere.
load it
When
up.
I tell you that I interviewed 40 of the...
All right, here we
I'm
go.
looking at Isaac Tesla.
Well, that's what I thought you were going
And he fits this. I met him at the rookie premiere. When I tell you that I interviewed 40 of the 40 rookies.
Yeah.
He stole the show.
Oh,
my
that's
heart,
good to hear.
My fandom, like Michigan,
That's
all the
good to
things
hear.
he was saying.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, I can't wait to see him shine. And he is. But this is somebody who did not have a million catches.
Yeah.
Did not have those moments. Like,
You know what? Tesla, I always say that pick, he really represents what we're all about.
Yes.
You have to do a lot of work on him. Like, it requires a lot of work. No, it'd be easy if he had, 90 catches and 1,100 yards in the SEC and all that, and be like, oh, okay. But, he didn't. So you had to dig a little bit deeper and watch even more tape and dig more deeper
What'd you
into the
see?
background.
What did you
It's
see when
just-
you were digging deep?
Well, the targets that he did have, he took full advantage of them. So when I looked at the past, 2 years of his film, I mean, he's catching every ball with his hands. He's not dropping anything. And then, he goes to the Hula Bowl, which is, probably smaller all-star game compared to the Senior Bowl, but shows out there, gets the graduation to the Senior Bowl, and he does the same thing there. And he's playing wide receiver like how we like our guys to play. He's blocking, he's straining in the run game. And I know when you hear blocking in the run game from a wide receiver, it's like, well, you got to catch the football. But that just shows a lot about the competitiveness and the desire of just a football player in general. And so just seeing all that and then digging more deeper into the tape and then sitting down with them top 30 and just getting everything done, I'm just like, are we really just going to go back to production? Like, is that, and I think it's kind of I just feel like it's a little bit of a easy way out, maybe a little bit more of a lazier narrative. If it's high production, that doesn't mean that a player's going to be successful. But I really like the pick. Glad he's having a good camp. He's growing. He's doing well. But glad you had a good first impression with him.
He's unbelievable. You can just tell he's going to fight for every inch.
Yes.
And
yes.
he sort of is so emblematic of what he knows what it's been like. What you're saying about what it was before these 5 years, before this rebuild, and what you've done since you've got your paws all over it. Like, he knows what it's like and what it means.
It was cool.
He knows what it means.
It was cool to hear him talk about, just because me and Dan had, like, where'd you get all the blocking and the gritting and
yeah, Dan's got
he gave us but he said the Lions is my team, and I've been watching how you guys play football, and that's how I like to play. And so it was cool that he's kind of emulates his game after how we play. But literally, it's I haven't seen a guy really block in the run game really like that since we took St. Brown coming out. I just thought that he was just like a real ass kicker, in the run game, and I think he is too. And again, I know that's not everything. There's route running and development and catching and all that, and all those things. We have great coaches, and I think Scotty Montgomery is doing a great job with him in his development. So all those things, he's got the tools to grow. He's smart, but some of those other things, you either have that or you don't. You either have that dog in you or you don't, and he's got it in him.
I'm looking at Isaac Tesla.
Well, that's
He's got the dog in him. I thought it was a good interview in Brad Holmes, talking about Isaac Tesla from the perspective of production. And this is the one area that I argue with fans the most about, Lions fans the most about, is production. And I think that this kind of just answered all of your questions as a Lions fan about how Brad looks at players in the offseason, how he evaluates players. And so what am I talking about? Every draft year, I get into these little tit for tat things with audience members or other fans through other social media, Lions fans through social media. Oh, we've got to go out and get this guy. Oh, we have to go up and pick this guy in free agency. It's the age-old argument. And it's because it's rooted in production. Well, this guy had 15 sacks and 100 tackles and blah, 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 blah. Or this guy didn't have, Shamar Stewart, didn't have any real production, or Nick Scorton didn't really have any real production his last year, with Texas A&M. But then you look at the time he was at Purdue and he was the Big Ten sack leader, right? Or tied for. Production is meaningless to Brad Holmes. It's part of the equation. He says it makes it easier to identify these guys because you see those numbers, right? That's what jumps out at you right away. This guy was highly productive. But what is he doing behind all of that? Okay, so if you're not getting 80 balls and 800 yards and 10 TDs, how are you helping your team win? Well, he is downfield blocking, right? He's one of the best blocking receivers in the game. So production is not the only answer. And so just like, I wish that Brad would have added one more letter to that sweater, man. Height, weight, speed, cross it out, add a P. Height, weight, speed, production. Brad can't stand it. If that's what everyone is looking at, they're not looking at the one most important thing, which is the film. Not highlights. Don't get caught. I mean, you can watch highlights if you just want to get a quick glimpse at somebody. Film. You have to watch the film. If he's doing all of these other things on the field and he's not getting targeted, I mean, the quarterback sucked. I mean, let's just be real. The quarterback that on that team he was on was terrible. Isaac Tesla was still staying, involved in the game to help his team win, to do whatever he could to free up other guys. But when that ball came at him, he caught that ball. And his hands were out wide in that diamond pattern where other, corners and safeties could not get to the football. That's what makes a good receiver. And then how did it translate? It translated into practice where he's doing the same thing. He has not skipped a beat. And what does he see right away? Amon-Ra's catching 202. I'm going to go right next to him. Isaac Tesla is going to mimic exactly what is making St. Brown so good. Those are the same things that I said about J-Mo when I said, man, dude, like if you're dropping the football, if you're having issues catching the football, which he was, why don't you go spend some time with Amon-Ra St. Brown after practice? It's just like training or rehab, it's training, right? Go catch footballs. Get all 5 of you in a line or 6 or 7, get out 6 or 7 jugs machines and start catching some footballs. Or set up all 6 and you guys just kind of walk, catch one, go to the next one, catch another one, go to the next one, catch another one, or maybe go to the next one, catch it a different way. That's what I would do. If I wanted to be the best, Tesla wants to be the best. So I thought it was a great interview and I thought it was a good breakdown, for Brad Holmes to tell us that production is not the only measurement of success when you're looking at bringing a player to this team. Now, these are all the things that I have always done, right? I don't always look at the hottest numbers. I go in and watch the film, all right? So if these are the top 10 guys at a position, I'm going to go look at the top 10 guys' film. And then from there, I'm going to go and look at the things that, from what I see, not as a professional scout, that would matter to me. Things that I would, consider more valuable than maybe others. That is the biggest reason why I have nailed over 10 draft picks for the Lions in the last 3 years before the draft, because of that exercise. Not just paying attention to the most sacks, the most catches, the most tackles, paying attention to the little itty bits of details that nobody else is noticing. That's exactly how I do it. And over the last couple of years, I've given a lot of nuggets away, and I've seen a little bit of a change in the way that people are talking about players now, locally. You've seen a change. You can go back 2 or 3 years and look what some of the local writers would talk about with players during that time of the year, during the draft. And now look how they've kind of reframed things. Same thing with, some of the other sports channels. They were constantly hating on the Lions and saying certain things. It's changed now. They're trying to be more positive. They're trying to spin things a little bit differently. Why the change, right? Why the change? I've always stayed the same. I didn't jump on a bandwagon. You know what I mean? I feel like there's a lot of bandwagon jumpers that are fans. And they're changing their tune now because they're realizing the old ways weren't working for them. They weren't getting much right because they weren't paying attention to the little things, and now they are. So everyone gets more intelligent if you dive into your own details, right? You have to get more experience at this thing. So what did you take out of that interview?
That there's a reason Tesla has become my favorite new draft pick out of this draft class. You know, hometown kid wears his Tesla jersey to his his meeting with the Lions.
Top 30,
and then, you know, he dressed up as Barry Sanders every year. He watches the Lions religiously. He wants to play and emulate like the Lions play before he even gets here. That just tells me this was all written in the stars. You know, we talk about Ahmed Hassanin and how that needs to be a movie. Well, maybe Isaac Tesla needs his own movie as well, because this is going to end up being a made-for-TV type of movie type of deal if he can come in and be the player that I think he can end up being in the end.
Yeah, this dude he's going to be special, man. He's going to be special. He's just got to get the snaps. I think if you give him the opportunity, he's going to be just fine. I just threw on my black hat like yours, and I haven't been wearing it enough. These hats are a little bit tighter. The material, like the other one is that, I don't know what that is. It's almost like a denim, but it stretches and it ends up fitting. I don't like the brims. They're still too flimsy for me. But this brim is super stiff.
Yeah, it's got that rubber thing under.
Yeah, and mine don't line up on my other hats. They're not centered.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't real happy about that, but I'm not going to return it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did buy the old school gray one. I like this one with the rubber.
I didn't see that one. See, yours don't line up either. Your lines in the front don't line. Oh, maybe they do.
It's the camera.
I got you.
Yeah. And then I bought this awesome one. I really like this.
Yeah,
one.
I like the brown, man. They've got some cool hats out there. There's a couple other ones I wanted to get my hands on. As soon as I went and seen them, they were like gone. All right, so we've only gotten through 3 positions here. What time is it?
9:44. I got about 10 minutes.
Okay, let's just roll through it. Tight ends. Last year we kept 3. Currently on this roster, Colton Pouncey. Well, first of all, Colton Pouncey believes that the Lions are going to keep 5 receivers. And Jackson Meeks is not on there. Dominic Lovett's not on there. It's Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameson Williams, Tim Patrick as your number 3. Isaac Tesla is number 4. Khalif Raymond is your number 5. Man, I got to switch hats again. This thing's cutting off circulation in my brain. That's an everyday experience, honestly. So tight ends. Surprise cuts for you. Sam Laporta, Brock Wright, Shane Zielstra. Those are the 3 that I feel are going to make it. If anyone is going to make the practice squad out of these guys, it's Zach Orton. He's the only one that I think would make the practice squad, in my opinion.
Yeah. Tight end's pretty cut and dry. If we were to have a cut, Shane Zielstra would be the most surprising if we were to cut somebody.
So if we did cut him, that means we're rolling with 2, and they're going to try to find somebody. Offensive line, Colton Pouncey has 9. He has Taylor Decker, Christian Mahogany, Graham Glasgow, Tate Ratledge, Penei Sewell. Those are the 5 guys that I said from the very beginning were going to be our starting 5. That's what our starting 5 is right now. He kept 2 tackles, a guard, and a guard center. So he kept Dan Skipper, Giovanni Manu, Awasika, and Eguakin. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name. In the others category, he put Jamarco Jones, Netane Moody, Michael Neese, Mason Miller, Zach Johnson, Gunnar Britton. Active pup is Miles Frazier, who's expected to come back. out for the season are Colby Sorsdahl, Justin Herron, Keaton Sutherland. To be determined is Tristan Colon. I think that Tristan Colon, if he's not healthy before Tuesday, he'll probably be put on a list. He'll miss the first 4 games of the season at a minimum, but he'll be stashed on a list. I don't think the Lions are going to let him walk. You know, I think they brought him in for a reason. They need him. I just don't remember the gravity of the situation for his injury. So talk about offensive line. Is there any major surprise cuts for you right now?
No,
let us know, obviously, in the comments below, everybody that's listening or watching right now.
I would have to agree with him all right down the line. I didn't hear any name that stuck out to me as being wrong for starters, backups, or cuts. That sounds like that's exactly what has worked out. You can't let Dan Skipper go. He showed his worth in the first couple of preseason games with having Decker, and he showed it in practice as well because Hutch was winning every single rep until Decker got back on that left side. They had to have the Hutch rule.
Yeah, so for me, I have a little bit different situation. I have Taylor Decker, Christian Mahogany, Graham Glasgow, Tate Rowledge, Penny Sewell as your starting 5. Behind them, I have Jamarco Jones, Giovanni Manu, Michael Neese, Coyote Owasika, and Dan Skipper. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 backups for a total of, no, I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5 backups for a total of 10 offensive linemen, whereas Pouncey has 9. Okay. And we only line up on Manu, Skipper, Owasika. I originally had Kingsley in there, and then I switched him last night with Michael Neese, but my final will be next week anyway. So whatever I figure out next week, it's really based on this week's game. The reason why I didn't go with Eguakin is because I think that we have our second backup center with Tate Rowledge. And that for that reason, you're going to want an extra guard that maybe has a little bit more experience. And that's where I put Michael Neese and Coyote Owasika. But Jamarco Jones looked really good. And he looked really good last year. But last year he made the practice squad. We also had Kevin Zeitler and Frank Ragnow on this roster. This year, I think that Jamarco Jones and his, veteran status is needed. But you could also stash Jamarco Jones as a vet player on the vet squad who maybe he won't sign with another team. That handshake deal that I always talk about. So I think that's probably going to happen. Mason Miller is an interesting one to me because I think there's a lot of, I think there's high upside for him. We just haven't seen it come to fruition yet. Last season, the Lions kept 11 offensive linemen. They kept 5 tackles and... Wait a second. No, they kept 10. Excuse me. They kept 5 tackles, 5 guards. And that's kind of what I've done too. But we have this versatility factor with some of these guys. So really no surprise cuts here. I mean, Skipper would be a surprise, but that's not going to happen, right?
Yep.
Tristan Colon is the one that I think will be stashed on a list. All right, defensive tackles. Aleem McNeil is on a list. We don't have to worry about him right now. DJ Reader, Tyleek Williams, Mekhi Wingo, Roy Lopez, Keith Cooper, Pat O'Connor is what Pouncey is keeping. He has 6. He has Chris Smith, Miles Adams, Broderick Martin on the outs. Last year we kept 4 with Broderick Martin scheduled to return. So for a total of 5, but only 4 at cut day. He has 6. Last year we had 4. For me, I have... Well, did you watch last night at all?
No, I did not.
All right, so then give me your defensive tackle room before I tell you mine.
Well, Lee McNeil on list. And then you're going to have Tyleek Williams. Mekhi Wingo's going to make it because he's...
Don't have a choice there.
Yeah, so there's 2. And probably Pat O'Connor and Keith Cooper. for a total of 4.
One more time.
So Tyleik Williams, Mekhi Wingo, Pat O'Connor, and Keith Cooper.
Tyleik Williams, Mekhi Wingo, Pat O'Connor, and Keith Cooper. What about DJ Reader? What about Roy Lopez?
Well, that's nose tackle.
Well, that's all. Yeah, defensive tackle. That's all nose and defensive tackle.
All right. Yeah. So, all right. So how many did we keep?
Last year we had 5. No, I'm sorry. Last year we had 4.
Wow.
And we had Broderick Martin to return on IR. And then in 2023, we had 5. Ali McNeil, Isaiah Buggs, Levi Onwuzurike, Benito Jones, Broderick Martin. Imagine if Levi Onwuzurike was still on this roster right now. This defensive line group is so freaking deep. And that's why I laugh when I see the meltdown craziness from certain people that don't understand what the Lions are doing. Because this line, they've been trying to do exactly what the Eagles did last year. They've been trying to do that since day one. It's just that Josh Paschal and Levi Onwuzurike couldn't stay healthy. So run me through it. Who are your defensive tackles?
All right. So you'd have DJ Reader and Tyleik Williams.
That's your 1 and 2.
Yeah, and then their immediate backups, you're going to have Roy Lopez and probably Mekhi Wingo.
Okay.
And then behind that, I don't know. Are you keeping Chris Smith, Broderick Martin, Pat O'Connor, or Keith Cooper?
Well, Keith Cooper's an end right now. He's listed as an end.
Okay. All right. On this list, he's listed as a DT.
Which one are you looking at?
The Our Lads.
I'm going to look at the Lions real quick.
Yeah, because I believe
he's listed as an end on PFF.
Okay.
And
so I'm going to say they keep 5, but who do they keep? Do they keep Chris Smith, Broderick Martin, Pat O'Connor, or Miles Adams?
You know what's weird?
What's that?
I don't see on Colton Pouncey's list Keith Cooper listed anywhere. Not as an edge rusher, not as a DT. Oh, no, there he is. He's listed as a DT.
Okay.
And he has them kept. So, yeah, it's kind of weird that you can list him as a DT or a defensive end. It really doesn't even matter to me. Defensive line, right? Your combination of edge and defensive tackle and nose tackle. So you'll write down your list later. Obviously, we'll do your final next week. Here's my list. Nose tackle, DJ Reader, Roy Lopez. Tyleik Williams can play nose or defensive tackle. He can play all across or inside, outside the line. So DJ Reader, Roy Lopez. Defensive tackle, I have Tyleik Williams, Mekhi Wingo, Pat O'Connor. I have Pat O'Connor ahead of Mekhi Wingo right now, but Mekhi Wingo's not going anywhere. And that's simply from a depth chart. Like Mekhi Wingo could be left off the first week, right? You don't bring him to the game. He's not part of the 48. If he's really not ready, we'll see. Those are my 5. On the practice squad right now, I have Miles Adams, Broderick Martin, Chris Smith, and Mitchell Agood, and Keith Cooper. Who do you have for defensive ends? Like, who is there any surprise cuts here? Surprise cuts, it's kind of weird this year. It's just so hard when you have guys like Ali McNeil coming back still.
I'm going to say that Mitchell Agood would be the most surprising cut for me. He's done really good in camp, in practices, and in the games, and we may have to stash him on the practice squad again. Uh-oh. Got himself a little phone call there. But with the injury to Hassanin, we still don't know what's going on with that. We don't know when Josh Paschal is going to be coming back. Paschal could be anytime. We just do not know. But Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport, those are your starters. I think Al-Qadim Muhammad, and I'm going to say for right now, probably Nate Lynn are your backups at the edge position.
Okay, one more time. So your starters: Aiden Hutchinson, Marcus Davenport,
Yep.
Al-Qadim Muhammad.
Yep.
And then who else?
Probably Nate Lynn backing him up. I don't know on that right defensive end, because right now you have Josh Paschal, who is injured. You got Hassaneves, who is injured. And then you have Isaac Ukwu. So maybe Ukwu makes it. It just depends which flavor they want, Nate Lynn or Ukwu.
So my guys right now is Hutchinson, Muhammad, Ukwu, Davenport, Nate Lynn. So I'm keeping 5. I'm keeping 5 and 5. Ahmed Hassanin, I have him projected to go on an active pup list. And you still have Pascal and Ali McNeil on the list. So, again, I haven't heard anything about Pascal. It's been speculated next week. They could have to do some weird gymnastics with the roster, but you could see Pascal IR to return. I don't know. I think you could leave him where he is right now, too. I'd have to review the rules one more time.
So the funny thing with Paschal, he's on an NFI, so that's something he did away from the team, correct?
Right. Yes.
So that's kind of funky there.
Here's what the rules say about NFI.
But we don't know what the injury is, do we?
No. At least I don't. I haven't heard.
Oh, I have to hard out. So I will see all you guys at training camp tomorrow if you're there. If not, I'll see you guys at the game on Saturday.
All right, buddy. Have a good day.
Yeah.
So we didn't get to finish. We'll finish it next week with his expected roster bubble and surprise cuts. The question for you guys is are there any surprise cuts? Right. So John Desage, yeah, I mean, that's what everyone's been saying, right, Dan? I mean, that's the boilerplate statement. Hassanin is going to be out for a while. It is a pec. I mean, that's what's been reported. We know it's a pec, but we also know that there's no surgery and that he's going to have to do rehab to get back. What we don't know is the timeline. We don't know if this is a 4 to 6 week injury. We don't know if it's a 2-week injury. It's been labeled a strain, not a rupture, not a tear, a strain from the reports that we've been given, a strain. So if he just has a strain, that could be a 4 to 6 week thing, which means I think at a minimum, you'd put him on a list, right? You could put him on a list. You could take him out for the first 4 weeks. That opens up a roster spot. And then you just have to play the roster gymnastics when he's ready to come back. It's just part of the deal, right? It's part of the deal. So it does get really sticky, man. So my question is, I think there's the most surprise cuts are right here. It's in the defensive line. I think that the biggest issues for Brad and Dan are with these 2 positions, or 3 positions, really. Defensive tackle, nose tackle, and defensive end. We have so many good football players right here stacked on top of each other. And you have to play the injury list game. And you still have guys coming back. This is a tough one. We did 2 hours of this last night, so I'm not going to try to waste a ton of time on it today. Linebackers. Any surprise cuts for you guys in the linebacker room? I have Alex Anzalone, Jack Campbell, Derek Barnes, Grant Stewart, Zach Cunningham, Trevor Nowaski. Those are your 6. The Lions have largely kept 6 every season. Toolbar doesn't want to pop up. I hate that. All right. If you are on NFI, so back to the question of if you are on NFI right now, the question is, what are the roster implications? What are the cut down implications? So if a player is placed on active NFI before the 53-man cut down, they will count against the 90-man roster during camp, of course. They do not count against the final 53-man roster if moved to reserve NFI before the deadline. Once you are on reserve NFI, they must miss at least the first 4 games of the regular season. So if a player is close to returning, that's where Brad and Dan have to face this decision. You keep them on the active NFI and hope that they're ready by week 1 or 2, at the latest 3. If they're not ready by week 4 and you decided to move them up to the roster, it's a bad decision. Unless you're trying to get them snaps, right, during practice because they can't practice. That's where it makes sense, is if you're saying, okay, you're close, but we'd rather have you in practice, going through all the walkthroughs, going through all the snaps as much as possible in training with us, as opposed to waiting 4 weeks, then activating you, then getting you involved. I don't know how much of that really matters in the season, because it's not like during the season they're going through 2-a-days. It's not like, in the season they're going through scrimmages, right? In the season, it's lifting, film work, meeting rooms, walkthroughs, no live hitting. So it's not like he's going to benefit a ton by getting activated for the season if he's not ready to play. I think it's a minor move. Now, if you move him to NFI reserve or reserve NFI, it will free up that roster spot, but you will lose him, like I said, for the first 4 weeks. There's a strategic angle here that if you're the coach of the GM and the players like borderline, we heard that Pascal was going to be ready by week 1, as early as next week, like Monday, Tuesday. So you might keep them on the 53 and then move them to IR after cuts if they have practiced. But if they have never practiced, then reserve NFI is the only option, and they are locked out for that month. So if you move them to IR after cuts, here, let me give you an example. Let's just say that your rookie wide receiver tweaked a hamstring in training camp in June. He's on in training in June, away from the team. He's on active NFI, hasn't practiced yet. If he's not ready by the August 26th deadline, then you move him to active NFI. He doesn't count towards the 53, but he's out until at least week 5. Okay, that's example 1. Example 2, rookie wide receiver tweaks hamstring, training in June, away from the team. He's on active NFI, hasn't practiced yet. If he's not ready by August 26th and he's close to being ready and you want him active for week 1, then you must activate him before final cuts. He then counts against the 53, and then you cannot stash him on NFI anymore. The question is, what happens if you place the player on IR after cuts? That's the question. If you place the player on injured reserve after the team has finalized the 53-man roster, then he won't count against the 53, and then they can return later in the season, as long as they're designated for return. They must miss 4 games. So that's the strategy, right, that the Lions are going to be playing over the next week. Super Bowl Wilson. Glad to see one thumbnail in this city without Zadarius Smith. Oh, man, we do it once in a while. But we do it from the context of having the real conversation. So I appreciate you, Mr. Wilson. Hopefully you've subscribed to the channel this morning. So what would you guys do with Pascal? I mean, we're 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away from week 1. the guys that have been practicing, you have Tyleek Williams, Mekhi Wingo, Pat O'Connor, Davenport, Nate Lynn, DJ Reader, Roy Lopez, Aiden Hutchinson, Elkadim Muhammad, Isaac Ukwu. All of those guys are playing pretty good football right now. How does he fit into that room? I mean, I love Pascal. I do. I love his ability on the field. I think last year was a big step up for him, seeing him out on the edge more. And that gave him a lot of snaps, a lot of experience at a position that maybe he's not playing as often, right? He's more utilized on the inside. So I think there's a big benefit here. But if it were me, and I want to try to keep some of these other guys, it's leave them on the list. Start with these other guys. Unless he's really ready. Like if he's really ready, then, and you've got these next 2 weeks to get ready with him, then it is what it is. Now, training camp is effectively done tomorrow, but they're still going to have 2 weeks of practices to get ready for the season. So there'll be plenty of time in there for him to get, a lot of running in, some hitting in, and everything else, and some tackling drills. And like U of M Dad says, he's going to end up on the roster at any time. Probably you should put him on active if he is ready. But then you're going to lose somebody, right? You'll lose somebody right now where if maybe he's not fully ready, then you play the game. You play the game. The last couple of groups here, like I said, linebackers is 6. That's the surprise cuts, or the issue that we have here is Malcolm Rodriguez. He's due to come back sometime mid-October. And that's really about it. As far as the linebackers go this year, I have not really... Let me close this. I don't really see a major issue here. I think we're pretty good. Ezekiel Turner, Anthony Pittman, Deron Gilbert. Like, those are the guys that... I'm not high on Gilbert. Ezekiel Turner's a mixed bag. I do like Anthony Pittman, and I would put him on the vet squad, and hopefully he stays there. That's the only linebacker that I've added to my vet squad right now. Keith Cooper, I did add to the practice squad as a locked player, a protected player, and I'll explain that all again here in just a minute. Corners, nickels, and safeties. I have DJ Reed, Rock Ya-Sin, Khalil Dorsey, now that he's been elevated. And then I have Terrion Arnold and Eric Hallett as your corners for this season. I have Amik Robertson down in the nickel. I have Rock Ya-Sin in the nickel. I have Avonte Maddox in the nickel. We got a lot of guys that can play nickel. We got Brian Branch in the nickel. We have 4 nickelbacks on this roster. I think we're just one away from a band. Sorry, that was kind of dry. Dad humor. Honestly, I don't even know how many guys are in Nickelback. You would think 5. And no, I don't like their music. Free safeties, I have Kirby Joseph and Avonte Maddox. Strong safeties, I have Brian Branch, Ian Kennelly. Or Ian Kennelly. Kennelly. It's got to be Kennelly. The good thing here is Rock Ya-Sin and Avonte Maddox can play all 3 positions, or 4. DJ Reed, Terrion Arnold, the interchangeable. Amik Robertson can play on the outside. And Khalil Dorsey is a special teams ace. Nick Whiteside has made a big splash this year. I did put him on the practice squad as one of the 10, first or second year players that the Lions have to have. Now, my practice squad will be finished today. I haven't finished it yet. But so far, here's what I have. I have Dominic Lovett, Kingsley Igwukin, Mason Miller. All 3 of those guys have less than a year. And then I have Craig Reynolds and TK85 on the vet squad. Both of those players have at least 4 years of accrued service. And then I have Hendon Hooker on the protected squad. He only has 2 years of service, so he doesn't quite meet the vet squad. And he has 2 years or less of accrued service. So on the defensive side of the football, which we've noticed every year from the Lions, especially with their practice squad, it's always been like 75-25. 10 offense to 6 defense. Or 60-40. I mean, whatever the percentage is. $72-38, I guess you would call it. So typically 10 guys on offense, 6 on defense. It's pretty much been that way. I mean, even in 2023, they had 9+1 because we had the extra international pathway player, Max Percher. And then we had 7 guys on defense. So that was like, a 70-30 deal. Or maybe it was more 65-35. And then if you even go back one more year, it was pretty much the same thing. So 9-10 guys on defense and 6 or 7 guys on offense. So offensively, I have 6 guys right now. Defensively, I only have 7. So I'm 3 guys short. And I've got to fix that today. And I will print this up in an article today because I need this stuff out there locked in some words online. I know I've been terrible at writing lately. I haven't been doing it. Just not enough time. But we'll do it. We'll get it done today. All right, I want to have some fun for just a moment. I want to go back to a video. So just indulge me for a moment if you don't mind. I want to go back to a video about Sion Vaky. I want to hear what I said. I haven't watched this in a long time. I want to go back to what I said. And big shout out to Brandy Coffee for gifting a membership. Well, look at that. Super Bowl Wilson received it. Congrats. Thank you. Really appreciate that, Brandy. And then, a newbie that hasn't been in the chat before received it. That's kind of funny. Mike P's not big on Hallett. I wasn't either, Mike. I was not either. So let's watch this video on Sion Vaky, a video that I did over a year ago. It was done during the off season prior to the draft. And let's see what I said. And then after that, I'll open up the phone lines for about 15 minutes. Give me just one sec. Gotta do little roster gymnastics over here. Why is it not showing up? What in the world? There we go. You know what? I won't even bother with the graphic. We'll get rid of the graphic. All right, here we go. I think I got it. I think I got it lined up now. I didn't plan on doing this today, but I really want to do it now because I'm really interested in what I said. about this dude. The picture's not, it's not moving though. All right, we're just going to have to roll with it the way that it is. All right, here we go. Sion Vaky, man. Let me make sure that our audio's turned on. I miss doing these videos. I used to do a lot of them. I didn't do any the last year.
Okay, we're breaking into our first safety today, Sion Vaky. And this guy is quite electric. You're going to love his highlights here in the second half of this video. And I got to tell you, I'm really impressed with him. I'm just worried about his length. I think his length is going to be a little bit of a problem for him at the next level. And I think when you talk about aim small, miss small, that's exactly how I would define a safety or any corner, anybody, honestly, that has, you know, a little bit shorter arms or smaller hands. You know, they don't have the height, the range, the length of some of the other players. Now he has almost prototypical size as far as height and weight, but he's just lacking in the arms and the wingspan. And I think that that's going to be a condition on which he's going to have to overcome. And he's done that for the majority of his career already. Where he's lacking or deficient in an area, he finds another area to excel at. So for all those reasons, I think that Sion Vaky is an absolute baller. I mean, this guy has a lot of great things about him, and we're going to talk about those right now. So first and foremost, Sion Vaky played for the Utah Utes. He measures at 5'11", 210 pounds, 29 and an eighth inch arms, 8 and 5/8 inch hands. He did not have the best athleticism score, but I got to tell you, 39 and a half inch vertical and a basically 10 and a half inch or 10 foot 5 inch broad. That's not, not athletic. That's very athletic. And I think where his shorter arms, he's going to make up for it in the vertical.
What a difference in background, old microphone, which that microphone sounded pretty good. But you could clearly see some of the issues that we're having with using a web browser base. But anyway, we'll keep rolling.
You know, he may not be able to extend with his arms, but between the jump and his arms, he should be able to get up and high point these contested catches. 40-yard dash, he was a little bit slower. I definitely didn't want to see Sion Vaky run a 4.62. Would have loved to have seen him closer to a 4.5. But his 10-yard split is not that far off from everybody else that ran, in that 4.5 neighborhood. Pretty strong kid, 20 reps on the bench. And, I mean, this guy plays like a bulldog, man. He loves to play. And you can tell. It's written all over him. NFL had this to say. They said he's a gamer who does whatever is necessary to help his team win. That is very evident in the tape. Vaky carries a thick frame with good upper body power and heavy hands. He took on carries to help his team when it was stung by injuries. Look, this guy's
You can also tell that I'm struggling with my throat, man. That happens every day.
an absolute dog as a running back. The last half of the season when he had to play running back and fill in or take over the running back role and fill in, he had a combined 520 yards, and it just absolutely stunned me in his tape how, fluid he was running the ball, catching the ball, route running, making guys miss. I mean, the guy has the skills to pay the bills, as they would say. And for that reason, and many others, I think that he is potentially on the radar for the Detroit Lions for a few reasons.
Bingo. There it is. Sion Vaky, I thought, was on the radar for the Lions. This is well before the draft. And if you notice, I'm talking about his ability on the offense, right? I'm not really talking about all of his ability on the defense. I thought it was crazy how good he was on the offense when he was just filling in. He didn't play in the running back role. It was high school, right, that he last played. And so he kind of, rose his hand like, hey, I'll fill in. Hey, I got it, coach. I'll fill in. I'll tote the rock. And that's what he did. And again, what I saw, clearly the Lions scouts saw the same thing, that this kid had such natural ability. But we'll listen to this goofball continue to talk here.
But most notably, now that the kickoff rule has changed, we're looking for playmakers. We're looking for, guys that can play, defense and potentially offense at the same time, but guys that can contribute on defense or offense, but also on special teams is something that Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell covets the most. And we've always found positions for players like Jason Kabinda when really he didn't help us on the offense at all. He was barely a blocker at times. But when you put him into special teams, he excelled. So I would rather see an extra safety on the team that can also run the ball and go out and catch a pass, also play special teams and be part of the defense. So for me, it makes more sense to do that. You know, extra linebacker, an extra tight end, an extra safety, not a fullback that you're not going to use anywhere else. So NFL.com for strengths had him as a very productive tackler with the nose for the ball. Works his eyes from quarterback to the route. Heavy hands and has a jarring punch. Patient to launch tackle, tries only when he has target locked in. So I guess that kind of speaks to my aim small, miss small. NFL.com is not the reason why you guys are here. You know, we want to know what this guy's all about, and what are the things that could make this guy be a potential game changer at the next level, even though he's probably a 3rd round pick right now.
Another call. Just saying, 3rd round pick.
I do believe that the fact that he is an extremely, extremely willing hitter and tackler in this game. You know, and NFL.com mentioned his eyes. I too mentioned his eyes multiple times in the video. He's consistently watching the quarterback and what that quarterback is going to do, and it helps him to make a decisive decision.
He was drafted in the 4th round.
It helps with his instincts because he's quick to react. He reads and reacts is how I call it. But he also watches the running back, and he pays close attention to any receivers that he's covering. But he'll watch the running back and the quarterback working together. He keeps his eyes on the ball, and you'll see him jump routes, fight through tackles. I mean, he just makes some incredible plays because his awareness level is a level 10. His vision is insane. His instincts are through the roof. He jumps routes like, he knows the snap count. So for all of those reasons, his deficiencies in his arms are getting made up in other areas. And that's all of those things that I just mentioned. His instincts, his awareness, his vision. Complete pit bull on the field. He's just a nasty hitter. He's a thumper. He kind of reminds me of a Miles Killebrew, but better. Like Miles Killebrew was a thumper out there on the field, and he loved to hit. He was a physical hitter, and Sion Vaky is exactly that too. So good strength at making the tackle. His peers refer to him as an overachiever, somebody that's always willing to go the extra mile, and that's an exact replica of what you're looking for from Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes. Is they want somebody that is willing to put the work in and earn it, right? You hear it all the time. And Sion Vaky is that type of an individual. Ball skills, very good. And you'll see that in the tape as well. Even though he only had 2 interceptions over the last 2 seasons, he can make, a play for an interception as needed. He wasn't targeted a whole lot, but he's always in position to make a play, up on the line of scrimmage, down in the box, where he was utilized more off the edge, rushing the quarterback. I think he had like 8 tackles for loss this last season and 59 tackles. It's something crazy like that. So, I see him projecting more as, a slot nickel, safety. Either he's up in the slot as a corner, or he's, running the nickel as a safety. And I think that's a perfect position for him. But again, that's somebody that does project pretty highly in special teams, and someone that can be utilized now in a short area where you're going to need more speed and strength on special teams, as opposed to all.
Again, I had this guy pegged as a big time special teamer. Clearly, our eyes don't lie.
All speed or all strength. So I think that Sion Vaky could find his way onto the Detroit Lions roster here come April. The only weaknesses that I really found for him is the majority of the time last season, Vaky was able to play very physical and overwhelm, all of the opposing receivers early in the downs. But that's not really a scenario I believe is going to play out a whole lot in the NFL. And Draft Buzz kind of felt similar in that regard. He's going to be going up against much bigger opponents, and I don't think he's going to be able to manhandle them as easily as he did with Utah. And that's simply because his arm length will not allow him to get up, inside and jam with length. These receivers are going to be able to keep him away. So that's probably my biggest concern is, how is he going to get up in these receivers' face if he doesn't have the length to do it? So he's going to have to be used more of an off man, not press man, type of corner or safety, if you will. So we'll see. We'll see where it projects. We'll see how he grows and develops. But he's got all of the makings of somebody that can really explode onto the scene and surprise a lot of people because of the way that he plays the game. Very clean, successful in everything that he's done, whether it's running back or back at safety. highly successful. He wants to stay at safety. I realize that, but it'd be good for him to stay multiple, versatile, and just do whatever he can do to make a roster and get some playing time, because that's going to be the most important thing for his career to develop and have more opportunity to play safety. Now, nickel. We talk about nickel because we've got Brian Branch in the nickel. So this would be another option that you bring in where you have Amik Robertson that could be the slot corner or the left corner. Carlton Davis could be the right corner, or you could flip-flop potentially. And then you got a guy like Sion Vaky that can now man the nickel where Brian Branch can go back to free safety if needed. So it would just give you a lot of...
Another call last year before the season where I expected Brian Branch to go back to safety, and that's exactly what happened. Brian Branch played safety last year. Amik Robertson was in the nickel slot. I know a lot of people projected him to be an outside corner. I never saw it. I saw what he did in a Raiders uniform and watched some of his college tape, and Amik Robertson is an absolute bulldog in the nickel. You did not need Brian Branch down there anymore. So a lot of good calls in this video. I'm happy with myself. Like I said, I haven't watched this in over a year. I'm happy with some of the calls that we're making, and we're going to have some highlights. If I remember, there's going to be some highlights, probably the last 30% of this video, 4 or 5 minutes of highlights. And that's where we start to see some really great things about Sion Vaky.
Positional versatility. You got guys that can do multiple things. I would still like to see the Lions pick up another corner in the draft outside of a safety. So I don't know if it's going to make sense. That's probably my only other drawback here is if they take a corner early, they may not take a safety in the 3rd or 4th round if they get a 4th round pick. So we'll see what happens there too.
And there it is. I asked the Lions to take a second corner. I asked them to take a corner early in this video and then to take a safety in the 3rd or 4th round. I called a 3rd round in the beginning for Sion Vaky because we didn't have a 4th round pick. But as you heard right there, what I said is if we pick up a 4th round pick, that's where I would see him going. So all 3 of those 4, 5, 6 of those things that I've just mentioned in the last minute and a half all happened. And I'm not just throwing all this out for receipts. I'm throwing this out because I put the work in. I put a lot of work in, and it's finally starting to pay off as far as people recognizing I'm not just some loudmouth with a mic. Right? I try to do this from a perspective of learning and then teaching, and then I just want to continue to get better at what I do. I would love to be a scout someday. I am so far away from that. Like that might be a retirement dream, but I would love to be a scout someday. My eyes don't lie. They have not been wrong about the players that I've wanted Detroit to pick up. Like calling Tyleik Williams this year, or, Miles Frazier or Tate Ratledge. I called them all. Great football players. Go back the last couple of drafts. The best draft that we've had so far, in my opinion, 2023, I called the first 4 picks. And it's just insane that I got so lucky, right? There's a lot of luck involved with that. But it was a lot of time and research and evaluating all these guys. And I think I'm getting better. I just need more time. Right? I just need more time to be able to do more. But let's get this video done. We got about 3 minutes to go, 4 minutes to go.
But anyway, let's get into the highlights. This will be the last time you see me in this video. So we'll see you guys tonight at 8 p.m. Rock That Detroit Lions goes live with off.
Ball skills, man. Vision, sure hands, instincts, reaction time, ball tracking. Vaky, there you go. Look at that. Nice play, man. Beautiful. Good awareness on that tip drill. Only 2 interceptions in 2022-23. Projects more of a nickel safety or slot thumper. Football IQ, decisive, reads and reacts, anticipation, instincts. Football IQ, gets downhill fast, edge crasher. There you go. The top right of your screen. Gets downhill. Nice play. Next 3 plays, reads and reacts, smooth, flips the hips, closes downhill. Top right of your screen here, makes the play. Good tackle. Again, keeps the ball in front. Eyes are always upfield looking at the ball. This time he's up in the single high safety, moves across. Nice play, man. So his vision is so good. Reads and reacts to the RPO, stays with the ball carrier, makes the play for the TFL. So he didn't bite, right? He didn't bite. I almost want to see that again. One more time. He's in the middle there. Reads, reacts, attacks. I love it. Read, react, attack. Awareness, fights through the blockers, finds the ball carrier, closes off the edge. Look at that, man. Just look how he fights through that stuff. Just stays slippery. He's very versatile. Man zone, box coverage ability, reads, reacts to the quarterback, running back. Timely jumps the snap count. Physical in the box, finds the ball carrier quickly. It's on the right edge there. I mean, just a smooth play. Jumps it. He jumps the play. He knew it was coming. There he is. Closing off that edge. Nice work. It's like a gain of 2 yards on a broken play. Here he is coming across the top of your screen. Bang. God, I love his hits. Top right. Finds the ball carrier, works down the line, crashes that line. Nice play, man. So exciting. That's definitely a blitz. He had some patience there. He didn't jump offline. Discipline, stays home to protect the edge, adjacent to the boundary. Nobody gets behind him. There you go. He stayed vertical. Did I mention he plays offense too? Kid is electric on both sides. Here he is. Look at this. Look at this. Oh man, that is veteran hands. That's against USC. Here's similar play here. Flat. Makes a move, man. Finishes forward. Here you go, coming out over the middle. Makes one guy miss. Two guys. 3, 4. Look at that work, dude. Why did I stop doing these videos? Probably because YouTube kept hitting me with copyright. Which they probably will on this too. I'll have to trim it out. Man, I love that play right there. Nice work. He's just, look at that. I mean, let's go back and look at this again one more time here. So he gets up over the middle of the field. Oh, I went back 2 plays. But look how he sinks down into this route and works back to the quarterback. Bang, finds his hole. And now he's just going to make a move. Bounce outside. And that's speed that is helping him there, even though he's not the fastest. There it is again, going over the middle, and whoop, there you go. Like John Madden, man. Wow. Juke stick unlocked. It was this moment number 25 knew he effed up. Oh, I got a little bit of humor in me, I guess. Oh, he's going deep. Going deep. Nice catch. Look at that. For a guy that doesn't play offense, look at this catch. With his hands are inverted back towards the quarterback. His hands were like not the right way. Wow. Beats the edge. And that tackle's moving. Who is that? Oh my God, he got all the way downfield, number 90. Oh, he's going to tuck inside. Yep. Nice play by the tackle there. And look at that speed go to work. Touchdown. Well, what'd you think? Good work, huh? Love Sion Vaky, man. Absolutely love this kid. He's just electric. I think he's got some big years ahead of him if he can actually get some more opportunity. That was over a year ago, a year and a half ago almost, that I did that video. Mike P says, watch this perimeter this year. It is very talented. Yes, absolutely. Amik shut down Justin Jefferson on the outside. He can play both. Yeah, that was what, week 18 or something like that. And that was like 1 or 2 plays. I think that week I called for the Lions to put our technically worst corner on Justin Jefferson. That was a good call by me in week 18, where we didn't have Carlton Davis. I wanted a Meek on JJ and then Terry and Arnold on Addison. And then they flipped, I think halfway through the game. Terry and Arnold went down and started taking some reps against JJ, and then Addison and Amik were locked up. So that was a great game, man. That was week 18 for the Vikings last year. That was a game that I respected Amik Robertson even more than I do now. But anyway, love the video, man. Really good stuff. I appreciate you guys indulging me for a minute. This is why Sion Vaky is my number 3 on the roster for the running back room. What you just saw is the reason why he's my number 3 over Craig Reynolds. He's way too talented for a kid that didn't play any offense at all in college until that final year. He didn't play any offense at all since high school, right? So few years, whatever it was. And then he goes in immediately and just starts wrecking teams. And those were just the highlights. That wasn't all of the film. See, the thing that the college tape doesn't have that I can't get my hands on just yet is like an NFL Pro Plus plan for college. Now, I do know a couple of people that have access to tape. I just don't have the time to go through it all, especially during the season. You almost kind of have to pick a vehicle. It's either you do college or you do NFL. It's kind of hard to do both. But Sion Vaky, now you just learned why I'm so excited about him going into yet another season where he's had a lot more opportunity to get familiar with what the offense is trying to do. And every time he's been in the game, man, he is just absolutely stunned the opponents. And he's done a great job. Absolutely done a great job. Yeah, Lions bad guy fan. Absolutely. Defense is going to be a top 10 in the league, says John Desage. Let me get these phone lines open like I promised. I mean, I always say I'm going to open them and then I don't because I just rush out of here. But let me get them open. If you have any comments for this show today, I'd like to know what your surprise cuts would be, if you have any. And if you want to comment on the Sion Vaky tackle, this is what Chet had to say.
Yeah, welcome to the Lions Den.
When Vaky was drafted. So phone lines are open. I'll leave it open for a few minutes. If I don't get any calls right up front, I'll just end it. (313-312-0348). Lock it up into your phone. Lock it up. Maureen, you shouldn't be afraid to call. Trace, Mike P. I mean, anybody. Hell, you can call and you can just say it's not even you. You can go under a pseudonym, right? You can just say I'm a Lions fan. I won't know who you are. I don't store your numbers. I don't keep your numbers. I don't share your numbers. So if you want to call in and talk about what we learned today, what we talked about today, or what did you learn today and what we talked about today, any surprise cuts for the Lions? Oh, we got a call. Rockhound Detroit Lions. Who do I got on the line?
Yeah, it's Wick.
It's Mr. Wick. What's happening, man?
Not a whole lot, man. You were talking about secondary there for a while. I think surprise cuts, first of all, I think we're going to have some really big surprises on defense. I think we're going to have that's going to be rough. But a lot of the talk around the Lions, the teammates, the media around the Lions has been Terry on Arnold. And I was wondering what you expect to see from him this year, improvements-wise.
From Terrian, I'm expecting a lot. Now, I know he was hampered, throughout training camp this year, not getting as many reps as I think that he probably would have hoped. But the good news is that when he did get, inserted back into this defense, I believe it was last week that he came back. Let me just look up something here. That he mentioned that the game was slowing down for him. I think that was this week, actually, that he said that the game was really slowing down for him, which is expected, right? It's expected. When I met Terry and Arnold at the draft, Eric and I were walking out, and Terry and Arnold and his friends or family, whoever he was with, they were standing there. That's where we got the shout out from him for the podcast and had a conversation with him, a lot of it off camera. And the biggest thing that we started talking about in the very beginning of the conversation was the penalties. And I said, TA, man, I said, you gotta tell me what your thoughts were when the flag kept coming out early in the season last year. You're getting all these, PI holding calls. What was going through your head? Did you feel like it was ticky-tacky? And he said, oh yeah. He's like, I was getting, I don't remember exact words. I'll paraphrase. I was getting crushed by penalties in the beginning of the season. But then if you look,
he was getting picked on for sure.
Oh, for sure he was. I think he had 8 penalties in like the first 5 games. And then if you look at the balance of the year, he had, I think, 3 for like the last 12 games. So right, that's right. That's the Terry and Arnold that I'm expecting. Now he started 15 games last season. I think he had an injury for 1 or 2 of the games. He was a starter on the outside from day one. He played at 91% of the defensive reps. He allowed just a 55.6% completion percentage in coverage and only 4 touchdowns all of last season as a rookie. And he went up against some really good competition at times. So if you're telling me that he had 3 penalties, in the last 12 games, he had a 55.6% completion percentage, played 91% of the snaps. We've got a really good litmus test here. I would say that is now the floor for this guy. He might have struggled early, with some of the penalties. He might have struggled early in some of the coverages and learning the nuances of the defense. But with 60 tackles, 47 solo, 10 passes defensed. Yeah, he didn't get an interception. I'm expecting that he'll be able to do that this year. I think like the biggest growth for him is having the game slow down. The biggest growth for him this year is being able to have guys around him that he can trust, and he has that. I think Terrian's going to be
getting a pick.
Yeah, well, he'll get a pick at some point.
Definitely. Yeah. I think that's the next step forward, in my opinion, is a pick. And so, I don't know if you've seen his interview, but he did an interview with that. I can't remember her name now. It's a Lions media.
Danny Rogers.
I think so. I'm not 100%.
So let's back up for a second though. So you mentioned getting a pick though, and I want to be firm in, I guess, my belief with cornerbacks. Just like defensive ends get judged by sacks, corners get judged by picks. And this is a fan thing. This is not an NFL coach thing where they're not going to evaluate these guys by judge them by picks and sacks alone. He had 10 passes defense last year. So he didn't come down with the ball, but he wasn't allowing the football to be caught. That to me is just like a TFL. If you're getting a TFL, but you're not getting a sack, and in this case, you're getting a pass defense, you're not getting an interception, they are just as good. What I don't want to see...
Well, not being targeted is just as good as that as well, too, right?
That's also true. The other thing is, if he attempts to go for interceptions, he might take himself out of the play, which could promote more catches downfield, and they could be big catches, because if you're going up with 2 hands versus 1, it's totally different, right? You have to completely sell out your body to turn and jump with 2 feet, get, or even 1 foot, get 2 hands up in the air versus staying in phase with this guy, jumping, leaping, trying to knock the ball down. And then if you don't and you miss and he catches it, you at least land in a way that you can continue to run. Going up with 2 hands, sometimes you don't come down in a way that allows you to hit the ground running, so to speak, and stay with the receiver.
It exposes you to. It's a risk, right?
It is a big risk. So he had a quote. Let me read this quote real quick. He said, The biggest growth has been the game slowing down. This was after this week, Monday. Take one play at a time, getting in the film room. I feel like I've got the best coaching staff in the NFL right now. Just as far as me being able to text Coach Deshae Townsend at 6 a.m. in the morning, hey, I'll be there in 30 minutes. We're meeting at 6:30. So he's not only, I think I said that this morning too, but he's not only taking advantage of every opportunity, he's creating more opportunities to be with these coaches and to learn and to just soak it all in. The guy's a film junkie.
And he wants to be a leader, in my opinion.
Yes.
I think he's pushing to be leadership in the DB room.
100%. But you know what? The one thing that they also mentioned in the DB room is that they're all leaders. Every single one of those guys views each other as a peer. They're all trying to learn from each other. Which means that they don't have their feelings aren't hurt. You know what I mean?
Right, and that's why I like the input there, because I just, there's a lot of hype around them, and I don't know, but there's not hype, right? There's hype, but there's not hype. Not hype around the league, but there's hype around the Lions, which I think is a good thing.
So what do you think? But, I mean, do you think that when we took Terry and Arnold, and then, after his first season, I mean, did you feel like Brad made a good choice? What was your overall thought on him?
Well, my opinion, so I think I'd like to see him get a pick. And then number two, I think he plays a lot of ball. I'd like to see his head get around a little more, have more confidence when he turns, right, rather than just playing ball. I think that would also be a step forward. Now, granted, playing the ball is obviously working, but I think he would have more opportunities to bring the ball down if he did get around quicker.
Yeah, so last year, that's part of the reason why I think some of the flags came out is his head didn't necessarily turn around, but he was picked on, like you said, because I don't think a lot of those calls get made against veteran corners. I don't think he impeded the receiver. I think he made a good football play, and the refs didn't like it. You know what I mean?
So do you think he earned respect moving through the season from the refs?
Yeah, I do.
Did he earn respect from the quarterbacks and they wasn't targeted as much?
Well, I couldn't comment on the last fact because I don't know his targets. I don't know his targets throughout the season. Let me do this. Terry and Arnold, PFF, game stats. And let me just pull it up and we'll see if that flushes itself out. I would say this, though. I'm wondering if Dan Campbell said something to the league, sent off, maybe the Lions sent off a couple of emails to say, hey, go rewatch the film. This is not a call that should be called. This is some ticky-tacky stuff here. You're penalizing a guy that shouldn't, necessarily be penalized. I'm not saying he didn't earn some of them. Some of them he did. And some of that stuff was just so egregiously called wrong.
Well, to be fair, as a cornerback too, if you're getting beat, isn't it kind of your job to maybe even provoke a flag in some cases too? Yeah,
I mean, there's ways to take the penalty versus a touchdown. He only allowed 4, but yeah, you need to utilize penalties to your advantage if it stops a TD. That's the only way I look at it. Like, for some reason we didn't get any PI calls on the offense, but our defense was getting a ton of them called against us. All right, so let's go through this theory real quick. Targets and receptions. So week 1, he was targeted 10 times. I'll just go right down the row. 10, 3, 6, 6, 7, 3, 10, 6, 4, 4, 7, 2, 7, 8, 6, 4. I would say he was actually targeted more towards the last quarter of the season, where he was averaging about 7 targets per game. During the third quarter of the season, he was targeted the least amount. The first quarter of the season, he was probably targeted the most overall because it was, 12, 22, 25 targets.
Well, actually moving into the second part, he was probably targeted more because of how many penalties were being called. And then I think that's when it switched, right?
Yeah, so you know what? Just the math tells us this. The first 4 games, he was targeted 25 times. The last 4 games, he was targeted 25 times. He was targeted 93 times on the season. And 50 of them happened in the first quarter and the second quarter. So the middle 2 quarters, he was targeted a little bit less. But what that tells me is when he was playing his best football towards the end of the season, he wasn't getting penalties. So
that's definitely interesting. So, I mean, I think moving forward, I think there is excitement there. So I can't wait to see what he brings. And I mean, with the 2 safeties and the corners we got coming in, I mean, it's looking pretty nice. So
I mean, I don't know if you answered the question. Do you think that Brad made the right pick?
Oh, with Terrion? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, okay. Yeah, no.
Now Ennis Rakestraw has been injured. Do you think that he made the right pick there, regardless of injury?
I don't think we have enough on that, to be honest with you. Now, I think that we were in need. So either way, I guess I would say yes, because really our DBs were kind of struggling. Our cornerbacks, and that's why he went in free agency and went after so many, right? So I mean, I can't say he was wrong, right? And then now look where we are now. So,
exactly.
I mean, you hit some, you miss some, right? So no, you can.
Joe Schmo says he was tested as a rookie, and that turned out pretty decent. He will be better this year with the experience under his belt. So, you got to go through the fire to come out on the other side. And I think that he was tested a lot last year from the NFL's perspective with the refs, coming down on him pretty hard. He was tested with injury, throughout the year. He was tested with drinking from a fire hose, trying to learn the defense. And then he was tested with all the injuries around him and having to play at a much higher level. Imagine for a second that you're a rookie and you've got a full team for the first 4.5 games. And then all of a sudden you're down everybody. Your entire defense is gone except for the back end primarily. And then your middle linebacker. That's pretty much all you have the last 4 weeks of the year.
No, it was rough.
So he was asked to do a lot more.
And even then, he still wasn't targeted as much. I mean, he was, but he wasn't, right? So, I mean, it was, you would think that you would see, because of the middle being so hindered, I guess, lack of a better word, being so hindered, that you would see more targeting in that area. So, I mean, it's it's telling that teams noticed it. And I think we see it in his personality. So it's just like what he goes for all the time, what Brad goes for all the time with the personality. And I think his personality is going to make him be better. So if that makes sense, that whole room, I think, is on that personality where they're going to be better. There's not a question of if, they're going to be better.
Exactly.
And I just want to see him. I want to see him get around a little earlier, and I want to see maybe take a risk once or twice. I feel like he was very safe, if that makes sense. And I'd like to see him take a chance.
Take a chance and try to jump some routes?
Yeah, take a chance. If you get beat, you got Brian Branch back there.
Yeah, so here's what I'm going to notice, or here's what I noticed early through practice and games. I've highlighted it a couple of times with our linebackers being the bigger highlight. I think you and I talked about that last time. The rush lanes are open for the linebackers. And I think with that opportunity, Terry and Arnold is going to have to be put in a better position to make a play because the ball's going to be coming out early. And so when you time those things, when the linebacker starts to run, whoever's calling right now, just wait till this call's done and then I'll bring you in. With the linebackers firing on a blitz, the corners are going to have to be ready, right? The ball's coming out hot, and you know that it's coming. And it's a lot easier to jump a route when you know that ball's coming out now. So ball's hiked, a second and a half goes by, and then bang, linebackers are rushing in. You know that ball's coming out. It's time to jump the route.
Right, and so I see where you're going with that, because last year towards the end of the year, we didn't use a lot of that.
Right, we couldn't. I mean, Glenn did manufacture a lot of pressure, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily just from the linebackers. He was manufacturing pressure wherever he could.
Right.
This year,
but it was less linebacker. Our linebackers were more coverage last year, in my opinion.
I'd have to go back and watch some of the games, which we'll do some members. We'll do some members opportunities here in the next couple of weeks. We will be doing more member videos and more member live streams. I think that Buy Me a Coffee just opened up a live stream option where I can do it and not have to worry about copyright. So that way we can review some film. It won't be on YouTube, but we'll do it in a different platform. But anyway, yeah, I think Terrian's going to have a bigger year, but I think it's culminating from the way the defense is going to be called, and what the defense has already looked like this season is different, right? If you're utilizing, you're highlighting the linebackers a little bit more, then those DBs, they're going to have to read and react a whole lot faster, especially the safeties. Like I can see Brian Branch and Kirby, if we're in a cover 2 look and we got 2 of those guys back there, I could see those guys getting the bulk of the interceptions, because the corners are going to be flipped running downfield with their back to the ball. And if the linebackers are firing, they're facing the other way, but the safeties could be facing forward. Like you'd always hear me say during the game, man, you got to have your chest forward as much as possible. You know, if you're facing the football, you can make a play on the football. If you don't know where the football is, you can't make a play on the football. It's that simple.
Fair.
So, all right, man, good call. We just had someone else calling in. If you want to call back, now's the time. Otherwise, we'll be done for the day. Anything else on your mind?
Yes, sir. No, that's all good. I'll hit you up later.
All right, buddy. Take care. Have a good day, man.
Yeah, you too.
See ya. That was the Wicked Wickster. I don't know who called me. But if you want to call back, now's the time. I'll leave it open for a couple more minutes. Get past the delay, and then we'll move forward. There it is. Rockhound Detroit Lions, who do I have on the line?
I have a friend of Rockhound, and my question is simple. With Frazier, are we in the same kind of boat we were when we drafted Green from North Carolina, where we've got the potential, which is a big word, potential of being a help to our offensive line, but yet we may never see him on the field? What is your opinion on that, sir?
So you're talking about Miles Frazier and Antoine Green?
Yes.
Okay.
Are we in the same situation as far as injuries and never really seeing him on the field playing?
No. Miles
we drafted him, but we're not.
No, so Antoine Green, obviously being a receiver, you know, when he suffered his injury, he was done. Like it was over for him. He never came back. When he started in training camp, he was looking really good. In the preseason, he was looking really good. And then he suffered that massive head or neck injury that knocked him out. I think it's a little bit of a different story with Miles Frazier. I think would be more of a comparison to what happened with Christian Mahogany last season, where Christian Mahogany was on NFI. He had mono or something like that, and he was out until like the 6th or 7th game of the year. And then he was brought back and then inserted into the game at some point. I can't remember which week it was, but then they realized, hey, we got something good here. Miles Frazier's a really good football player. He's going to help this team. He's going to help this team. And I think right now with him on a list, it's just because he's got an injury that he's working through. I think he's going to help this team big time at some point.
Now, I guess my question is, I really don't know. He was injured prior to the starting of camp, right?
No, I think Miles Frazier suffered an injury during like rookie OTAs. Hold on here. Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Okay.
So back in July, Miles Frazier is out until the season starts, per Dan Campbell, was one of the headlines. And he's got a knee injury. When asked about Frazier's absence, according to this report, let's see. Dan Campbell thinks it's going to be at least September, maybe October. Let's say something like that. That would mean starting the season out on the reserve offensive line mix. So that's your answer. What I'm not seeing in here right away is when he was injured, but I think it's a pretty easy way to figure it out is he's not on NFI, right?
Okay.
So if he's not on NFI, then he had to have been injured with practice.
Okay. Well, I know one thing, that the kid's got a lot of talent, and
Oh, yeah.
we could use it. And he's young, and we need as many young offensive linemen as we can get because we're setting up. I think that Brad has done an excellent job of looking into the future and getting talent for our offensive line for the older vets that are going to be leaving us soon. So I'm hoping that he gets back, and if it's a knee, I'm hoping that it's something that they can clean up, and it's going to be stronger than it was before it got hurt. That's about all I have, sir, but thank you very much for your show and your information. We appreciate it very much.
All right, buddy. You too, man. Appreciate you. Go Lions.
Go Lions. You got it.
All right, man. Take care. All right, we missed another call. I didn't catch that gentleman's name. Thank you for calling in. Question was about Miles Frazier. Are the Lions walking down a line similar to the Antoine Green situation where we're just not going to realize what type of player he was because of an injury? It's a little bit different, right? So if you called in just a moment ago and you want to call back, the line will remain open. Miles Frazier suffered some sort of a knee injury. And like I said, I think it happened during rookie OTAs. And I had Miles Frazier as, gosh, let me go back and look here. Let me go back and look at one of my old spreadsheets. Oh, there we go. Thank you for calling Rockhound Detroit Lions. Who do I have on the line?
Hey, Will, it's Honor U of M Dad. How you doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Not bad. Just relaxing, listening to my favorite subject, the Lions.
There you go. So what's on your mind today, man?
I want to talk about the coveted 53-man roster spots in Hooker and Martin.
Okay.
And how, these spots are coveted. And I want to use the example of a management standpoint. You have a employee pool of 50 people, and you got a couple guys that just aren't pulling their weight. And you have opportunities to upgrade those positions, those people, once 53-man roster cuts happen.
Right.
Or 90-man cuts. Why do we feel like there's some kind of allegiance or investment that is going to improve over Hooker and Martin with the time they've already spent with the Lions? To me, it's like it's time to go cherry pick somewhere else because those two trees are not producing, if you know what I mean.
So the trees aren't bearing fruit. It's time to cut them down and make some really good smoke wood for your brisket, huh?
You got it. But those spots are just so coveted to me. They're so important. Why continue to let them be taken by two that just aren't doing it for you? And there's guaranteed there's going to be someone out there after the cuts are made that can take up those roster spots that are going to produce and help take this team to a next level.
So I know I understand what you're saying, and I appreciate that, because I've kind of been in the same boat with that same question. And the more and more I think that we see what Brad does every year, I think it becomes just a little bit more in focus of what his true plan is. Let's forget the player's name for a moment. Let's just say a defensive tackle, a quarterback. Let's remove the player's name. If you're looking at this player from the perspective in the offseason of scouting, right? And you see, okay, big body, very rare body size for this defensive tackle / nose tackle. You don't see this size very often. Has some really good agility, has some things that he needs to improve. Probably a 3-year project, maybe hopefully 2 years, right? Maybe 3 years. And then let's look at our roster constructively. We have a guy that we're going to end up giving a contract to, who's our star right now, Lee McNeil. We brought in a guy that's coming, off of a major injury that we're hoping by his second year is going to be back to his shape, DJ Reader, or his form, DJ Reader. And then this year you draft another guy. What I think that the Lions were trying to do is look to the future, knowing you have to have a practice squad. And some of these guys can fit on the practice squad, but we didn't have enough defensive tackles that could fill out the practice squad or stay on the roster that had that size. And that size, even if he can go in and just hold down 2 gaps and allow the guys around him to do his job, because he's going to be double teamed, then he's winning. He doesn't have to produce in the stat lines. He just needs to produce on the field. But I get what you're saying. He came in as a rookie, didn't impress, which I think too much emphasis was put on where Brad took him and how much Brad, gave away to take him. So let's walk that back too. There's no name, and you took him in the 4th round. Okay. Or you took him in the 3rd round, the end of the 3rd round,
right? Which
realistically was a 4th round pick, because it was, where we picked him. I think, didn't we get a comp pick or something that we traded for at pick 96? Or no, it was the last pick of the draft. Or last pick of the round, I believe. But either way, end of the 3rd round. What we know about that round is less than 15% of 3rd round picks ever start in the NFL. Less than 15%. So I think too much emphasis has been put on this dude's head because he's a 3rd round pick. Well, he's the 96th pick, which is almost the first of the 4th round. So either way you look at it, cup half full, cup half empty, I think the emphasis has projected Martin as supposed to be a starter, when if you look at the stats of the NFL over the last many years, less than 15% of 3rd round picks will ever start. So why did we put so much heat on Broderick Martin to have to start right away and get sacks? Like, that's just not what a nose tackle does, right? That's what I kept hearing from people.
What I see it as, where he was, him or Hooker, where they were taken, honestly, it doesn't matter to me. It's where it comes up to is the 53-man roster, is that each man needs to produce. And it just seems like Hooker and Martin doesn't have the bark in them, for the dog. If there's something lacking or what it might be, but look at like Tyleik Williams. He's taken off. Admit he was a 1st round pick, but he's got that bark in him, and so does Ahmed. 6th round, he had the bark in him.
Yeah,
it seems like that bark is just missing, and I want people or men on my team that have the dog in them, that have that bark, that can get it done. And I think given 3 years to see if we can develop that opportunity, because they do show these physical attributes, but it's just not hitting. And
Well, okay,
That's where I look at when 53-man comes.
Yeah, I
we
get
should be
that.
moving on.
Let's break that down a little bit more. So, do we know that he doesn't have the bark in him? Like, do we know that he doesn't have the fire in him to want to be as good as he can be? We probably don't. I saw a massive transformation from year 1 to year 2 from his body. Year 2, he suffered a knee injury in the last preseason game. And then, as you know, last year was such a mess with injuries. They really couldn't do anything with him outside of what they did. They gave him 50 snaps because they had to bring guys in that could play a Lee McNeil's role. We already had a defensive tackle. Right. We already had a nose tackle in DJ Reader. So that automatically put Broderick Martin to the back end. But you couldn't dump him off your roster and put him on the practice squad because, honestly, I think someone's going to pick him up almost immediately because of that size. Yeah. But what I saw with Broderick Martin was an immediate pop last year in the preseason games. He was affecting the defensive line, and he was helping the guys around him to do their job. This year, we just have not seen enough yet because the Lions went really deep. They went and got some, like Calvin. Now we have to look at it from this perspective. This is now Calvin Shepard's defensive scheme. What is the one thing that we've noticed from the players that we've brought in? Lighter, smaller, faster. So we've now moved on from the big, run clogging, giant, massive man in the middle to now guys that have faster feet. So I think that's a conversation that maybe we've failed to have in all of the media space. Has Calvin Shepard's defensive scheme now put Broderick Martin off this roster because it's a change at what the Lions are doing? And there's nothing wrong with that, right? It was an experiment. Right. It could have worked. I mean, you got to have guys on the practice squad. You have to have depth guys. It's not easy to find 350-pound guys that can move. Look at Trevonde Sweat. He's one. And look how much bigger and more out of shape he is compared to Broderick Martin. Broderick is unique. He's a unicorn at that size. And that's why Brad picked him up. You can train somebody. They saw enough out of him that they could get what they needed to get out of him. But to your point, your question is, at what point are we going to walk away from some of these guys and upgrade? And I love that question because every year at 53-man cuts, we're going to see all of these players get cut, and we're going to see 50,000 videos of, should we draft this, or should we, sign this guy? Should we sign that guy? And the one question I think that everyone should be able to answer by now is, will he fit the scheme? Does he fit the culture? And can he help this team as a 6th defensive tackle? Because you immediately have to sign him to your roster, right?
Right.
And well, no, let me take that back.
Suddenly gets an injury.
You can sign him to, after cuts, you can sign him to your practice squad. Yes, you can sign him to your practice squad. But are you going to use him over a guy that's been in your system for 3 years? So that's the question, I guess. U of M dad is, who would we then bounce off of the 53-man roster to upgrade Broderick? You know what I'm saying? Because if Broderick ends up on the practice squad, which I think is where he's going, who are we going to upgrade on our regular roster on the 53 that would make sense? Because I think if you're really trying to upgrade the team, Broderick is not the guy to upgrade. I think the 4th or the 5th defensive tackle that you keep would be the guy that you upgrade. Am I making sense with it?
Yeah, completely.
Okay, so let's talk Hendon Hooker for a moment. We know we should never see Hendon Hooker this season, right? Fair statement?
Right.
Okay. We don't want to see Hendon Hooker. So does it really matter how good our backup quarterback is? Probably not. Have we put way too much emphasis into Hendon Hooker because he's played badly? He hasn't looked that great. Might have been a little bit of a risk when you took him because he was injured, and and it's just taken him a little bit of time. He's really only played in one full or two full off seasons now. So really only had 2 seasons out of 3. This is his second real full season on the football field. And most quarterbacks that are not drafted in the first round typically don't play. They typically don't start on NFL teams. And so I think for that matter, if he ends up on the practice squad, great. I don't think the Lions would walk away from him because there is a lot of upside to Hendon Hooker if he can get it to click. Look at the plays that he was making with his legs. We don't have that, right? I want to see him make the plays with his arm. And when he actually does throw a nice football, it's beautiful.
Yeah, he looked great in that 2-minute offense.
Yeah, he looked really sharp. Something's not clicking right now.
Right. It looked like he had like deer in the headlights look prior to that.
So then I'm going to ask the same question. The only guy that we can really upgrade on our roster would be Jared Goff, because we don't expect to see Hendon or Allen at all. And if we do, let's just be real. I don't care if it's Trey Lance, Taylor Henneke, Max Brosmer, which I like Max Brosmer. Now that Eric brought him up, I looked at him and now I'm kind of liking him. I don't care what backup is out there. If they have to get inserted into the game, we're not winning football games. Like, we might, but it's not like we're going to go to the Super Bowl with. This is not a Nick Foles story. Right. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would say that the one area that maybe Brad and Dan could have done better is go get a proven vet. You're going to have to spend a little bit of money and then continue to draft a guy late in the rounds, and maybe you find a Brock Purdy someday. Very unlikely to happen. And I also believe that Brock Purdy has totally ruined the later round quarterbacks perspective in the NFL because he's played so well.
Yeah.
Now
you hit it right on the nose.
Yeah, now everyone believes, every quarterback from the 1st to the 7th round is supposed to be great. It's just not likely. But no, great questions, man. And look, it's like, I'm not trying to hold Broderick and Hendon Hooker ransom on this roster. I just have a hard time making the argument myself. I could get them both off the roster. You can see that I've done that. But I'm having a hard time with finding someone else right now that's available. But we haven't even gotten into that segment yet of who's available. We started to yesterday, starting to look at who's available. And I'm with you, man. There's going to be some cuts next week that you're going to be looking at yourself in the mirror like, I want that dude on this roster. But is he going to play?
Right.
And how much do you have to pay to stash somebody on the roster that's not going to play? It's the what is it? The 1998 Olympic basketball game theory, right? It was 98, right? Was it 98? Was it 98 that we had that crazy all-star team for the Olympic team?
Oh, the Dream Team?
The Dream Team. Was it 98? 96? But that's the theory, right? I think that's what everyone thinks when you're building a roster, is that you can just have a dream team. It's not possible.
Right.
You're a smart dude, and you know darn well that there's some players on this team that we don't want to lose. And if we start bringing in some players that cost us a ton of money only for one season, that could be the end of one of our players because we just don't have the money to do it. I don't know. Good questions, man. Good questions. So what would you do?
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking my call.
Yeah, no, anytime, man. Please call in throughout the season. I love it.
All right.
Have a good day, buddy. Take care.
All right. Bye.
The ornery one. The ornery U of M dad. What would you do if you had a Kit Kat bar? No, I'm just kidding. What would you do with Broderick and Hendon, man, if they're not performing, which they're not? Like, honestly, I don't even want to see Broderick on the field. I don't want to see Hendon on the field. I really don't. I mean, even if they are the 5th or 6th player on, 5th or 6th defensive tackle, they're going to get some rotation. I think that Broderick is closer than he is further away. I think he had a pretty decent preseason game versus the Dolphins. He did have a higher pass rush rate, but his overall defensive scores were not great. The other thing that we haven't done is we haven't gone in to compare, which now I better write this down. I don't know where my magic marker is. All right, I'll just have to write it on a sheet. And I'm not even going to tell you what I'm writing down. I'm going to save it. All right, time for one more call. You got until this music ends, and then I really got to get out of here. Where is it? Here you go. How long do we wait until things start to click with Hooker? That's a great question, Trace. All right, phone lines are done for the day. I would say this, Trace, like Hendon probably has until his contract's done. I think it'd be really interesting to see what happens with the players that get cut this next week. I think there's going to be some pretty good quarterbacks. There's some teams to look out for. You know, when Eric brought up the Browns yesterday, I get that right now Kenny Pickett is slotted in as the number 2. I don't think that there's any chance that Gabriel and Sanders become free agents on Tuesday night. I think it's going to be Flacco, Sanders, and Gabriel, and Kenny Pickett's probably going to be the guy that gets cut. Or you might see an injury designation, and then you know what they're doing, right? They might stash some extra quarterbacks on the roster simply because they don't care, right? I think the Browns, they got their one guy. They got Myles Garrett, and they know that they're probably another year away after this season. Maybe next season they can start to compete. And so right now they probably don't care. They're just going to keep the quarterbacks, keep developing them, and then next year make it a hard decision, which Flacco won't be around next year. So it'll be Gabriel and Sanders, and then whoever their third is. But I think Gabriel and Sanders are the future of the Browns. One of them is. Oh, 92. Thank you. It was the 92 Dream Team. But to answer the question, how long do we wait? I think you have to wait as long as you can. I mean, there's a lot of upside with him. Like Brad always says, it's taken him a little bit of time with every stop that he's had to get things to click. This is his second season. He didn't play his first season, right? He didn't even get activated until the last 6 games of the year so that he could accrue a full season. So you can throw away the first season. This year and last year are his first 2 seasons, and I would say that he's not looking great in preseason, but you have to give him still a little bit of time. You don't want him to play. We need extremely cheap contracts underneath Jared Goff. How much is Flacco making? How much is Flacco's contract? And I would say to the Lions too, like that's an interesting way to go at this. Like if I would have brought in Flacco. You know, I would have brought in somebody like that to say, hey, dude, you can definitely win some football games here. You know, you've got a massive amount of weapons on this offense. You could win some football games here. So Flacco's making $2.8 million this year. 1.25 base. $250K roster bonus. Well, we know that's going to happen. He's making 2.8 this year. Compared to Hendon Hooker's making a $1.55 million cap hit. So 1.3 million is the difference between these two quarterbacks. What is 1.3 million? Well, that is the difference of, I mean, almost a Marcus Davenport, but it's the difference of a Miles Adams, you know, players like that on the Lions roster here. I'll tell you. That's how I look at it. You know, if you're saving 1.3 by having a very young drafted football player on your roster, where's that money being spent? Like, who are you retaining? Who are you retaining? So you'd be retaining guys like this. Isaac Tesla, Al-Qadim Muhammad, Avante Maddox, Dan Skipper, Craig Reynolds, Malcolm Rodriguez, Giovanni Manu, Tristan Colon, Kyle Allen, Pat O'Connor, Miles Adams, Jamarco Jones, Shane Zielstra, Tom Kennedy, Tate Ratledge with his rookie deal, Coyote Owasika, Broderick Martin's 1.4 million, Khalil Dorsey is 1.48, Hendon Hooker is 1.55, Grant Stewart's only 1.7, Marcus Davenport's 1.75, Brian Branch is only 2.18. So there's your answer. By saving $1.3 million on a rookie deal, which I know the Lions have a ton of money, but we know that's earmarked for next year. Or at least that's the understanding. It's earmarked for next year to lock up some of these guys. I mean, it's the bottom 30 of your roster, right? The bottom 30 or 40 of your roster that are all making less than 1.3 million. And it starts with Coyote Owasika at 1.39 or Tate Ratledge at 1.392. Now, if I go non-rookies, it's Coyote Owasika, it's Al-Qadim Muhammad, it's Avante Maddox, it's Dan Skipper. So you guys get the exercise. You know what I'm trying to say. That's where the money is being saved, and that's where it's going to, is being able to add one more guy to your roster. Oh, dude, you're all good. Orner U of M Dad. You're perfect, man. You're fine. Just keep calling. The only way you get better is by practicing, right? Right? I don't have the soundbite. We're talking practice. All right, so I said I was going to share what I'm adding. So you can buy this in, I think, a lot of different grocery stores. You can definitely get it on Amazon, but this is what I was told to get. Celtic sea salt. It's a light gray. It almost feels wet inside this bag, but it has all of these different minerals and things that you need, right? And so I've put this stuff on my steaks, my chicken. I'll take a few little pebbles. I'll put it in my water, put a squeeze of Mio in it. So I'm getting all of the different minerals with good, healthy salt versus I don't use table salt. I don't use ionized salt. I don't use any of that kind of stuff. I only use sea salt or flaky sea salt. But this stuff is what I've transitioned to. I was told to drink a couple of bottles of water with just a few pebbles of this a day. And it'll give you all the magnesiums and stuff like that that you need. I can't, it's a little dark right here, so I can't read what's in it, but key minerals and trace elements of magnesium, calcium, potassium in a perfect ratio that is one recommendation by doctors, nutritionists, and chefs worldwide since 1976. So kind of funny that I'm talking to a doctor about it has iron, it has, a lot of sodium, obviously, but it even has iron in it. About what I can do to make my water better without drinking Gatorade, because Gatorade is the worst stuff in the world for you. My opinion, but also doctor's opinion. It's the worst stuff in the world for you if you're not sweating constantly. You only drink Gatorade if you work out. Don't drink it to drink it, right? That's what I was advised. So put a little salt in your water with some lemon is what I do mostly, or a little Mio. Keep bringing up the questions. So every day that we do this, we'll take the questions. Mailbag at rockdown.com. I know I keep telling you guys, but mailbag at rockdown.com. What I want to do is take all of your questions, put it into a video every week, and then also take some phone calls about it. But all right, season's almost here. We're a week away from cuts. I got to bounce, y'all. I got to get out of here. It's 11:30. We've been doing this for 3.5 hours today. pretty soon I might go from 7 to 11 or hell, even 6. And no, the mods do not. You guys do what you do, right? Do your life. You don't have to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning. I appreciate all of the work that you guys do and all of the help that you give me. You're wonderful. But don't feel obligated to show up at 6 o'clock in the morning if I do a stream. Anyway, we got a lot of work to do. I got a ton of graphics to get done before the season starts. So I'll catch you guys later. You guys have a wonderful day. Take care. Go One Pride. Go Detroit Lions. 1 week, man. 1 week, and we're going to know what this team's all about. We'll see you guys later.